Can see if we've got our quality options to begin with. I actually probably also didn't turn off. Yep. I also have somebody who's being hosted right now, I suspect. So let's unhost that. Unhost that. And I have quality options first try. So good news there. I hope you're all doing well. I hope at least some of you will have noticed I'm getting a little bit back on top of... oh dear. I don't know what's been going on with my computer lately, but I'm currently showing 79% memory utilization. So the good news is that I've got 32 gigabytes, which probably means I'm in the clear for Age of Wonders Planetfall, but I want to know what's taking up all of that. Anyways, my apologies. I've been trying to do my best to get things ready to go, to have a little bit of consistency in terms of the start times. Obviously, life can sometimes get in the way, but I've done my best. Also, there are a number of you who have been following the channel as a result of some of my YouTube efforts. Now, of course, the drawback here is that I don't get a chance to thank all of you individually, but it's been pleasant. It's actually one of the things that has sort of kept the follower count moving upward. I have felt a little discouraged every once in a while at the sort of the drop off in terms of follows during a broadcast. It's just something that's kind of nice to have happen. But it has been really nice to be able to, not just see. So if it was about metrics, it doesn't really matter, right? You take it where you can get it. But what's been nice about that has just been the process of being able to see some people who said, "Hey, yeah, I watched this video that you did on your." That you did on your channel. I'm checking you out now. And some people just like sort of passively watching, not necessarily going in and participating in chat, which is completely fine. Okay, so this is supposed to actually be on display number 1, not... That can't count as display number 2. Oh boy. Okay, so we're just gonna Alt F4 out of that. I think I probably just screwed it up. I've had this problem every once in a while, and the better answer is for me to just close out the game and restart it. But I declined to do something so sensible, and now I'm paying for it. So sorry about that. Let's try this again. Anyways, yeah, so this is just a very roundabout way of saying, hey, it's working now. Very roundabout way of saying thank you very much to those of you who follow. Thank you very much to those of you who are watching either quietly as a lurker, those of you who are checking out the VODs after the fact, those of you who watch on YouTube. I realize that the live broadcasts are probably the worst stuff that I do on my YouTube channel. It's also the most frequent, and as far as number of minutes are concerned, certainly the majority of my content. But I have recognized sort of where the attention is going, and I'm doing my best. It's a slow-moving ship, but I'm doing my best to try and line up the interests so that both go through. With that in mind, if you are watching on a VOD, I usually do about 10 minutes of sort of preamble, give people a chance to come in and see the live broadcast before I commit to too many decisions, and then then we get on with it. Then we get the mission done. So a few details about what's going on. So I got we're already up and ready to go with a new Morrowind episode. I believe the Morrowind vodcast is still processing on Twitch, but on YouTube it's there. If it's not processed as a high definition video, it should be before tomorrow. And if the Twitch thing's not done processing by, let's say, before I go to bed tonight, I might re-upload it just to be ready. So one way or the other, if you like those vodcasts, it goes live, quote unquote, on this channel, this Twitch channel, at 7 o'clock. I usually hang out in chat to participate every once in a while. So the drawback here is that if I'm playing the game and I'm broadcasting, I'm obviously present and I'm obviously checking out chat. It's difficult for me. I mean, so first of all, I've been pretty clear in terms of saying that, I wouldn't watch me. I appreciate you guys liking my stuff, but it's hard for me to watch my own things. It's actually one reason why probably in terms of being a broadcaster, my growth in terms of talent is a bit lower, because it's hard for me to review the stuff that I do, and as a result it's more difficult. If I don't watch it, it's difficult for me to learn from things that didn't go as well. Most of my impressions come from the live experience. Also, it's just a time question. So with that in mind, it is sometimes challenging for me to sit down and, already knowing what happens in the episode, having played it, it's sometimes a bit of a challenge for me to sit and actively watch the show for the entire duration. But I do hang out in chat, and because that time is good for me to get some other things done, I do sometimes get things done in either another room or in another window, and I'm not always as responsible with chat depending on where you're at, but I do read everything, unless I'm simply not able to be in the chat room at the time. So as always, thank you for your participation. And anyway, sorry, I got into the weeds on that anyway, but that's 7 o'clock tomorrow. Wednesday and Friday, I think I'm going to stick with Mass Effect, but there were a couple of other details that I found that really interested me. One, Kit Fox Games announced that Lucifer Within Us is shipping on October the 15th. That's a lot sooner than I was expecting it to come out, so I'm pleasantly surprised by that. And it does throw a little bit of a wrench in terms of my overall plans. The plan was to sort of stick with Mass Effect for an extended period of time. But if I have an opportunity to cover Lucifer Within Us, I think I would like to spend a nice solid amount of time. So that may wind up being the Wednesday and Friday broadcast for the next little while. Obviously that hasn't happened yet, and I have plenty of days. So again, I never want to assume that I'm going to be able to cover something. But with that in mind, that would give us 3 broadcasts of Mass Effect. So we'll probably not get the game done, but we'll probably be able to make some decent progress. What else? One thing that I didn't get done this weekend, which I'm a little frustrated with myself for, is I didn't get another Cultist Simulator recording in. But I did the YouTube planning. So these are those 20-minute videos. I have got probably about a month's worth of content ready to go for that. So the trick for me is that I don't want that runway to get shorter. I want to keep the thing going. Those usually, I believe I've set those to go live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. So if you're waiting for the next one, that'll be when that comes up. But I have to do a little bit of catch-up for myself to make sure that I stay on top of it. Because the worst thing that can happen to me is kind of what's happened with Morrowind, which is I've never managed to get sort of that makeup session. So the difference between Cultist Simulator and Morrowind is that for Morrowind, sitting down and recording one of those episodes is basically a 3-hour commitment, an uninterrupted 3-hour commitment. Whereas Cultist Simulator, those are by design are about 20 minutes apiece, and so to be able to make the time to catch up on a couple. Obviously, I do more than one Cultist Simulator at a time, but being able to catch up on Morrowind is hard, because it means that in addition to the 3 hours to record the original episode, I also need to somehow find the time to do another broadcast. Definitely doing them back-to-back is really hard. Obviously, that's got the special voice, on top of the fact that it's, that's essentially taking 6 hours out of the day to record. So that's a little a little much to expect, in my opinion. But I'm doing my best to try and catch up on those. So, needless to say, that's a bit of an idea in terms of where I'm at. One of the things I want to try and avoid on the YouTube thing is to find myself in a situation where I'm really just producing the next week's material the week before, because if anything happens to get in the way, then that means that I potentially fail to meet the deadline, and it just doesn't feel good to disappoint people like that, especially when I'm trying to sort of grow and build a little bit of an audience for that. And needless to say, I've been very pleased by the response to that video. It's definitely not my most successful video out of everything, but it is noticeably higher than pretty much anything else that I do on YouTube. So it's an indication of where I think people have material that they want, and I'm thinking about how I can do this with other games, including Planetfall. So I'll maybe leave it at that. I'm a little bit past my 10-minute marker, but like I said before on a different broadcast, the games that I notice get a lot of attention on YouTube, regardless of the format, are Cultist Simulator. And it's easy to see why, because I did that introductory video that seemed to really hit it for people. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. Now, I don't know if now that the console version is out that people are going to be as interested in that, but I'd like to give that a shot again. And Age of Wonders Planetfall. And I think Age of Wonders Planetfall in particular is interesting because it is a game that, one, I sort of feel doesn't quite have the love and attention that it deserves. But it's of those ones, it is a strategy game in which I get to give voice to my plans. And I really feel that is the thing that I'm most comfortable and best at. And so I'd be interested in seeing if there's a way that I can do that style in a more YouTube specific format. So this game is one of the ones that I'm considering along those lines. Now, with that in mind, this is the main campaign. So we've got the Invasions DLC, and it's probably worth mentioning before we go too far into all of the stuff that I like about this game. I was given a copy of the game from Paradox along with the DLC, so that includes Revelations as well as Invasions. I don't think a lot of the changes from Revelations and Invasions are present inside of these scenarios, although obviously the changes to the base game are there. And in this campaign, it's been kind of interesting because I underinvested in my military, and I'm really feeling that in this little conflict here. So I've been facing these overwhelming forces, and we've been doing okay in terms of holding our own, but it has sort of whittled down my troop count. And of course, the AI is always going to be able to turn around and build more units inside of their bases. Whereas any units that I produce, I'm going to have to take quite some time to bridge that gap, in addition to the time it takes to build them. So I have a ticking clock that I need to account for. We did do a small diversion just to be able to pick up some quests and whatnot. But ideally, we're going to be doing a little bit of healing as we make our way to Zvirdo. The big challenge here is if they move these units to Zvirdo, it's going to be a hard battle for me to try and recover. But what I might be able to do is sort of move my guys just in sort of a tempting position that the AI will try and attack with. So I'll be able to peel off these guys and turn them into and basically take my main forces to take Zvirdo on its own. Alternatively, what I might just do is capture some of the individual sectors, deny them their resources, and when I see an opportunity, I'll move in and take it. So this is definitely going to be a challenge, though. And one thing we were practicing with, which I think worked quite well, but it's debatable as to whether or not this really delivered in terms of in terms of the situation I find myself in right now, is we try to take advantage of the fact that the Amazon get a lot of extra food as a result of fighting units on the board. So as you can see, we've got a lot of growth. That's great. And the idea was that we would turn that growth into sort of a big industrial base with which we would build sort of these overwhelming armies. The problem is that the war has found us before we've built those overwhelming armies, and I'm going to war with the army I have as opposed to the one I sort of wanted to. Now we have a small buffer in terms of our allies. They're not contributing a lot to the war effort, despite the fact that they're stronger than me. But what I'm going to try and do is, I can't even say take advantage of my superior tactics so much as the fact that I've got the save and reload button. And we'll see whether or not we're able to turn that into a win. So these guys, I think we're going to stay put. Let's see. Okay, so everybody's going to wait here. I also should have gone to the bathroom before I started the broadcast, but we'll see how long I can handle it. It would be interesting to see whether or not... It'd be interesting to see what the Orborian is like. I think I'm going to do the auto combat. But I'm going to have to give that one a shot.
I am full of dark ignorance. My lost life hungered in corners of tarnished shame. It smothers me, this veil of regret. Your kindness pierces my shroud of guilt. Loving acts are stars in my night. I see, guided by sparks of your grace. Danak, Star Guide's confession.
How you doing, The Exception? Thank you very much for 31 months of subscriptions. Unbelievable. But a pleasure as always. I hope you're doing well. So we went for the Star Guide. One, because of the just the damage type that it has, but there's also some benefits just in terms of the Enlightenment. So it happens to have a few different factors that really make them strong in this context. The ability to clear off some debuffs. The fact that it's shield oriented is a little bit of a problem because of course the Kirko are very melee focused, but the idea is just a matter of keeping the Star Guides in the appropriate position. I'm managing The Exception. Today could have been a little bit more productive for myself, but it's also not over. So I'm gonna enjoy a nice session of Age of Wonders Planetfall. Hopefully we'll make some progress, or potentially even finish this mission. It'd be really nice to get that wrapped up if I can. And we'll do our best. I think one of the challenges I run into with Age of Wonders Planetfall is that it seems to be one with a very narrow audience, and so I sometimes wonder if I'm turning people who would otherwise want to watch the stream away because they don't care very much for this game, or if what I'm doing is facing just sort of a low point in terms of concurrent viewership, and it's more of a reflection of the fact that like people might really want to see this. Game, or are happy to see me stream this game, and so I'm misattributing factors from the game towards the stream. So again, I talk a lot about concurrent views and whatnot. There's a couple of factors that I think you guys know of that have sort of led me to reflect a little bit on where I stand in terms of those kinds of metrics and whatnot. I don't mean to sound too obsessed about them. And I realize it's almost impossible for me to not to sound like that if I'm, if I'm always talking about them this way. But the way I look at it, so I've actually, it doesn't really hurt to talk about this stuff here. I've said a couple of times, like when I'm at the end of a stream and I say something along the lines like, and if you want to see more of this stuff, let me know. Well, that, doesn't really work, because if you're saying at the end of a broadcast, you're saying it to the people who are willing to watch until the end. It's better if you say that at the start, but sometimes you don't think to say that at the start because it's not as relevant. Or you're getting people to sign on for things that they haven't experienced yet, and so they don't really know. So what I do is, of course, I rely on revealed preferences. I look at the actions that people have. I look at what their alternatives are, and I make inferences on that basis. So, and with that in mind, talking about it to me is just sort of a way of saying that I see and I sort of acknowledge what I'm being told. In the case of games where I've been given a key, I do want to make sure that I'm covering it well. Like I'm doing my, doing the best I can with what I've been given. Oddly enough, I don't know if that is something I should continue thinking about, because it seems to me that, playing some of the less popular stuff for Paradox, things like Imperator and whatnot, led to a few, lower results. And that seems to be the criteria on which I have been sort of declined for the latest batch of things. So, I'm sort of maybe looking at it the wrong way, but it's, I don't play stuff that I don't like. I've enjoyed all of these games that I've played. And insofar as people find them rewarding for me to play them, I'll keep doing them. The challenge, of course, is sometimes it's not easy to tell whether or not, I'm being a little self-indulgent in terms of playing something that I'm only interested in versus, connecting with something that I really like, and it happens to be that people enjoy it as well. Meetings all day, so it's debatable whether or not all of it was productive. Yeah, meetings are the worst. There are very few meetings that I've been in where I'm like, I'm really glad we spent this time doing this. Doesn't mean that they can't be productive. I just think for the most part, it's too easy for people to lose the plot in terms of what's going on. Like, especially the worst thing that we run into at the place where I work is there is a very strong tendency for people on the team to really have that thing that they are interested in and like invested in, and the thing that they need to get off their chest. And it's not to say that we shouldn't hear people out on things. I definitely think one of my challenges with my workplace is that I don't feel heard out on certain important issues. But the reason I don't bring up that kind of stuff in meetings is because not everyone on the team necessarily needs to know about my private gripe. There's a time and a place for some of these things. And I don't know. I feel like there's kind of a social contract in terms of what needs to be brought up. So I don't know if your meetings are like that, but it's one thing that just drives me bananas. I'm also trying to figure out here exactly where I want my next mod to go. So I'm not crazy about it's nice to have the regenerative bioregulator. Actually, you know what? The bioresistance is what makes this really attractive. This tactical operation too, the healing pylon, is a pretty sweet bonus too. I was thinking about how I might go offensive on some of this stuff, but the more I think about it, it might be better for me to start thinking about how I boost my resistances and my focus on preserving my units. All right, Rondefell. What do we want to turn solitary winds into? There isn't necessarily any advantage to picking one over the other. Energy is always welcome because I always have a big shortfall. Production is also welcome, of course, because this colony is definitely in growth mode. I think I'm going to go for the industry. Yeah, I think the other thing that helps with meetings sometimes is just take the time that's like your default assumption and cut it in half. Right, where we're picking up goodies before we combine them back into the unit. Energy convoy. The remains of this transport contain a salvageable energy pod worth 15 energy. Unfortunately, its destroyed systems reveal no data on the convoy's origin, destination, or what led to its destruction. I'll admit, For 15 energy, that probably was not worth the time that it took to move over. But it looks like we need one more unit for the stack over here. No, not even that, because if we can get a hero... well, that's a big if, though, right? I don't know when the next hero comes up. Okay, so these guys are eventually going to make their way to Zvirdo. The best scenario, of course, is if they can combine with these units over here. But for now, I'm going to sort of move to the edges and see if we can sort of tickle the borders a little bit. Now, I want to be careful for the next little while on this edge because, of course, the enemy units are going to be showing up before too long. I probably have about one turn of, not sticking together and preparing for the retaliation. I think any future moves, I need to be considering where I am in relation to this big army. But again, the hope is that they're going to be sending these folks down to attack this stack over here. What I'm really wanting to try and do is see if I can unite this stack and this stack. It's going to require some fancy footwork. I might even consider about embarking all of these units and making them chase me so that I can move these units over here. Now, if I do that, it means that they get more time to build additional units. But I don't know. We'll see. Oh yes, I also forgot I've got a second group. So this might get interesting. All right, Hoyden. Start with the energy sectors upgrade. It's expensive, but I think I am going to do the hydrofluoric Arborean Queen. In fact, I'm going to put that above the energy consideration just because I really want to get this stack ready to go. I don't know if I'll do a pay it, like a buy it now. That seems very expensive, and I'm not really sure I'm going to get the full effect, but...
Enemy operation detected.
An enemy has completed a thorough purge of their operation systems in an attempt to root out any infiltrators and spies. The energy siphon was not detected. Good news for me.
Sector annexed. Production ready.
All right. Again, we're just taking a look here. Rasflean. What's going on with you? For some reason... Oh, yes. I need to decide what core... you know what? I'm going to set them up with a central reactor core. This is still technically infrastructure oriented, so... And... need less for growth. I think at this point we do... Well, turns out we can do both. Does that make sense for me to do, though? No, it doesn't. So we're going to spike that. The Radiation Wilds and Wild Bulwark, I'm going to convert these into probably energy. We'll see in the end whether or not I want to go. The big thing about the energy is that just having this really high floor, it means that I'm able to buy some spectacular units really quickly. Neither of these territories have any real special reason to be food. They were food because I needed it at the time. But it's pretty clear here that... Actually, you know what? With that in mind... I should probably get these conversions done sooner rather than later.
Happiness event in colony.
Due to the happiness of your population, there's a boost in energy income. The colony receives 50 energy. Okay. So again, our main focus right now is to try and unite the units. They are pretty scattered at the moment, and it's pretty unlikely, I think, that we're going to be able to get everybody we need to. But I'm mostly interested in seeing what happens with these folks. All right, so it looks like we're probably going to have to make a stand here. I think I should be able to use sort of the coast to my advantage. I think they're going to wind up with a nasty penalty if they get attacked on that end. All right, so I think they're still able to get a bit of a surround on us. There's definitely some mean-looking units on this. I think it's probably best that I should have saved ahead of time, but it's the 5th day, right? Yeah.
Operations primed and ready.
Let's do... Okay, so Blessing of Starlight, maybe. Soulfire. Yeah. Our Soulfire operation was successful. The enemy units in the targeted army suffered 20% damage and are affected by soul burn for 1 turn. Target army takes damage equal to 20% of their health, and target army suffers from soul burn for 1 turn. Now, let's see who's got the most damage. Nobody really, so I'm going to save the heal for later, but I am going to queue up Soulfire right away. Okay, so I can afford to be a little more reckless with this unit here. I mean, there's still sort of a little wolf pack hunting these folks, but obviously we know the main force is over here to try and cause me some grief. All right. I guess I need to set you up for guard. This movement's very slow. All right, another annex. So I think the idea was that I'd take the celery stalk supply. What was I thinking when I was doing this? Was it maybe the flea flung growth mother node and celery stalk? That would seem right. Well, given that I can release it as a forward base, I'll annex this for now. But I'm probably gonna wind up going for something else. This has a very it's a very low chance of success, but I'll take the shot. Our agents were caught while they infiltrated the enemy's facilities and were unable to install the research taps. Unfortunately, our agents broke under enemy interrogation and revealed our involvement with the operation. I mean, that's life, right? I think at this point I'm just gonna hold off. Now, let's have a chat with the mother node. Looking to exchange goods. Let's connect to Rondafel. Sector limit Okay, so if I say abort this, there we go. And why are you angry? Because of the Void Storm. I should have thought that through. You know what? Let's endure it, and I'm going to find another way of dealing with the Void Storm. What else is ready to launch? Nothing I want to mess around with yet. Let it be known to all, Mahino Waneka ignored claims on sectors. We abhor your actions. Consider yourself warned. Next time I might not be so forgiving. I'm trying to think what territory of theirs this has to be old. Okay, that's a really nice little stack of energy we just got there. Oven will... Okay, so I guess the real question now is, what do I want to do with my upcoming, my upcoming armies? So before I go too far, let's change my star guide. Consider the path of light, heed the stars' communing call, trace the structure of orderly stars, ponder purposeful night, discipline your questioning mind, abandon evolution's own appetite, believe the faithful's perpetual fight, transcend your natural fleshy lusts, be seen by the all-searching eye, become a being of light. Star Guide Shinxia Shik, RV6600R, Celestian Vespers. So we've got, let's just do a recap of why I find these guys interesting. So repeating attack of Light Bolt, Strength 10 Psionic, bypasses all armor, but not shields. Enlightened, so plus 20% damage against units with soul burn. So one of the things we want to try and do is inflict soul burn on as many targets as possible. It has a strength 8 chance to apply soul burn until the end of combat, so that's also a high priority. One of the things that's nice about soul burn too is it tends to neutralize enemy units in the sense of them taking the time to cleanse. So if I can put more debuffs on people, so much the better. It helps me get some tempo. And then Celestian Judgement, so this is a strategic operation we're running, plus 10% damage to non-enlightened units. And I believe it's enlightened by default. We also have Blinding Light, so it's psionic, 12 strength chance to apply blind, and it's a 1 hex radius. So these kind of wind up being a lot like my Amazon units in a lot of ways, but it happens to have a couple of properties that that maybe help out a little bit more for our present opponents. Cleansing Light, so I believe it's a once per battle. Yes, it is. So target unit heals for 20 and is dispelled of all negative side effects. Enlightened Healing plus 5 for each enlightened unit in battle stacks up to 5 times. We will have a bunch of enlightened units, so that should give us a straight plus 25 to the base of 20. Celestial Guidance, target friendly unit receives guidance, gaining 20% accuracy and is considered enlightened until the end of combat. If this ability targets an already enlightened unit, they receive an additional 200 morale. This will be good for crits, does not work on mindless units. Defense doesn't really count for anything, so let's think about the mods that we can apply here. Well, I mean, I wouldn't normally do this, but the question would be whether or not I want to spend the cosmic. So these kind of make sense. Let me just double check that they make sense, but immune to all negative morale effects and gains 1 level of stagger resistance, and each time the unit is damaged by another unit, the attacker has a strength 8 chance to gain remorse. So Tenets of Tranquility, maybe not. You know what, let's unequip that. Okay, so, Oven Will. Get a guilt cover being built there. So the question would be, is it better for me to build a I believe I have Sorrow's shields for my main forces. Let's just double check that that's correct. Yes. So what I want to do right now is just consider when I have the whole package, what costs more and what's going to give me a better, sort of a better return. So the Sorrow's shield is 35 and 10, and the Star Guide is 105 and 26. Okay, so definitely I still want my Huntresses to be sort of my front line. So let's think a little bit about this. Also, I want to see what my Arborean Queen does. Because, I mean, I have Sentinels. I've got a ton of other stuff that that I could be working with. Where did my Queen go? Here we go. I know it has some ridiculous abilities. So it was Hyperpollination, 4-hex area around... Right. So it's the healing that makes this interesting, not necessarily the... Okay. So build defenses around the Arborean Queen. I do need to think a little bit more about some of my flying cores. I don't have a ton built around that, but let's say... Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a unit, another set of ground, kind of another ground unit built around an Arborean Queen. So we've got one there, one Star Guide. This is also going to have an Arborean Queen. I will consider the rest of the composition later. Currently I'm doing all right as far as my...
Production ready.
My energy reserves are concerned, so I'm trying to remember there's no reason for me to keep the bioengineered food plantation. I will keep the upgrade because of the food benefit, but I should be focusing on trade.
Production ready.
And then this we were already... Who gets the upgrade? I guess that would be Diplomacy Glenn. Yeah, I can live with that because it's, again, so what I want to be doing with this setup is basically take advantage of specialization. So if I have a district which gets a +5 to food with an agricultural exploitation, I want to take advantage of that. If, on the other hand, I have something like this sector, I mean, it has, you know, it already has Arcadian and Forest, so I'm getting 2 food out of that. But I do want to start building them towards particular specializations, towards things that I need, like research, like energy, like industry. And so the idea will be, I really don't have that many colonies that need to grow anymore. And so the idea will be that the ones that can specialize in growth will. The ones that, let's say the ones that need attention in other ways, let's say ones that, you know, don't give me those perks, I'm going to turn them towards, you know, other advantages. The hardwood is rivers. Oh, actually, no, rivers are just a straight up 10 food, I believe. Yeah, okay. And again, even the argument of having some of these other food sectors is a little weak, just because I'm not really going to have too many. I'm not going to have that many sectors that need to grow rapidly. But I'll worry about that later. I figure I have other priorities. So I've delayed the Hour of Doom long enough. Let's see whether or not we're able to withstand this this group. Interesting. So the question is, what can I do about this? So if I attack this unit here, these 3 get involved. So it's 3 on 3. I think we can make it work. No, we can't. Damn it! What was I thinking? Because I can't get a unit there. Oh, that was bad. Sorry about that. Okay, so how would I want to position my... So assuming that these guys were to attack, how would I want to position myself? Okay, so if I do something like that, I can move a unit up here or a unit down here. The problem about moving a unit down here is that the counterattack is pretty brutal. They're sort of left on their own. It's a slight reordering. I think at this point I'm just trying to buy time.
Operations primed and ready.
So again, we'll put the Soulfire on the scariest stack. It's 80 a turn. That's not something I want to keep going. But again, every turn. So one of the things that I'm keeping in mind here is that every turn where they're wasting time not attacking these people is a turn where my reinforcements get to move in closer. Of course, they've got this little trio hunting this stack of 6, so I don't necessarily want to bring friends. By the way, when they attack, it's going to be probably going to be this one because it doesn't involve. This is the one. This is the one that sort of provokes the most defense. This is the one that will provoke the least, I think. This unit doesn't get involved. Everybody else, I believe, gets 4 stacks of defending.
Wait for me. Let this shell grow around me. I'm getting stronger. In stillness, I am nourished from within. Wait for me. I will rise and join you soon enough. Lady Willa Loveday, Bard.
So, of course, I'd love to re-equip some of my units with that mod. Unfortunately, if I do that, they are a prime target for that attack. It does, however, give me some time in terms of being able to put down the Nourishing Field Pylon. This will be really helpful if we need to make a desperate stand. So the question would be, do I go for the Amplified Bioresonance? So unit gains plant roots. Heal for 12 and granting 4 armor. Has the Entangle ability, can also deal 8 damage to turn. I did not think that that was what Crushing Roots would give me. But it only applies to plant units. That makes a lot more sense. I'm really tempted to do Amplified Bioresonance just because of the Amplifying Field Pylon. We've got Viscous Strain, so being able to apply biological attacks on the enemy is not that important. Cerebral Strain's kind of useful here. One, because of the increased damage on abilities, but also because of the 8 psi strength chance to apply Catatonic. I think I'm going to take the 3 turns for the healing, though.
Of course you can't live in this industrial zone. This is where we manufacture and ship out all the things you can't live without. Redick, Flinkov, Devar, Foreman.
Olaf T. Harry, how are you doing? Thank you very much for your host, as always. I know you like to lurk, so please don't feel any obligation to... Oh, there you are in chat anyway. Yeah, please don't feel any obligation to say things, but it is a pleasure to see you as always. Okay, so I believe at this point I need to take on adaptive exploitation. I will confess I'm a little salty that it's going to take 5 turns, but honestly, it's on me for not... Oh, you know what? This is still not enough. I need to find a way of getting rid of the void. Okay, let me... Huh. Did I already research that? And... I mean, Cosmite Harvesting Center is kind of something worth it on its own, or there's the research and development. Okay, so this is clearly all about lava. I think it is also fair to say that nothing in here is related to void. Yeah, it looks like it was just hazard removal. Okay. So I need to make a unit to go and start that project. That shouldn't be a problem, but let's just take a second here and see neo-evangelicals, additional relations, disincentive prayers. Huh. There's a bunch of stuff that I want. I'm going to do research development too, one because it's cheap, but also because I'm complaining about the time it takes me to research certain things. Okay. So if I say we've got this Huntress, if I put her to the top of the queue, how much is this going to sink me? It's about half of my energy credits, but I think that's money well spent. Oh wow, I get to use that right away. All right, and I now have a Huntress, which I can add to the stack in Uvalin. Okay, so these guys are still waiting for their Arborian. I'm doing all right, Olaf. I'm always happy to be playing a little Age of Wonders. All right, we're already queuing up Soulfire, Blessing of Starlight, and all that. So I haven't used Blessing of Starlight just because, again, the time that we wait lets our people already heal up. After a battle, we're going to probably want to have the combination of Soulfire as well as healing. There is kind of the question, well, is it worth it to maybe try and do an attack? I can see it both ways, to be completely honest. So, like, let's say I move up like this. I move this unit in here. I take this unit to attack down. Who's going to defend it? Well, it's going to be this stack of bees and this stack... oh, you know what? Okay, so the big question on this one is whether or not I can get my people back in position. So... And, I mean, at this point... Sometimes you just need to burn your hand on the stove. So the idea is I'm going to move here after we clear these guys out, and then we're going to move back to a defensive position. So it's a 3-on-3. If we were to do an auto combat. Holy crap. That's a really good outcome. So again, they've been affected by the soul burn. Not anymore. So let's figure out what we need to be afraid of from these guys. If we can pick them apart one at a time, we're laughing. The Transcendents are going to be the real dilemma here. But we might even, if I have a tactical operation that lets me inflict a stagger from a distance, this will be good. Okay, so we got a Plague Lord, Serrated Spikes, Repeating, Parasitic Infection, Super Infection. It's a full action. An Infected Spike does a lot of damage, potentially stuns. Reanimation Spores reanimate friendly dead Xenoplague units using concentrated bundle of parasitic spores. Fortunately, can only be used once per battle. Lacerating Tentacles. Presumably this is the melee attack. Yeah. Okay. So just overall, something to make something to make you reconsider where you are in your life. Here's what we're gonna do. I, as much as possible, would like to make this a battle about rushing to the middle and smashing these guys here, because that lets me combine my two forces. The drawback, of course, is that these guys are going to be able to do a flank, and there's more than a little bit of there's a fair amount of credibility to the threats that these guys pose, right? They've got some reasonably fast movement. They've got some good ranged units in here. So there's going to be a little bit of a challenge just sort of moving everyone where I want them to be. We're not able to scare anybody yet, so I'll set you up for... Yeah, honestly, I think at this point we'll get people in position. It does mean we're going to be open to some retaliation, but part of this is about getting them to focus on my commander. If I can get them to do that, I of course I can get my commander back a lot easier than I can get some of these units back if I lose them. I don't know how to feel about... Yeah. This is like asking to be gunk-shotted. I am a little curious to see whether or not I'm... Yeah, so I can't get a cheeky lance in. So, one of the ideal outcomes here is if I can get myself into a position where I can inflict some sort of a stagger. But before anything, I think this is going to be about uniting the two groups. It's pretty clear that we're not going to be able to inflict any damage. So what I want to try and do instead is get some appropriate distance. This would be nice, but this is obviously not the bulk of their forces. I'm not sure. Well, you know what? Let's at least get the thing on cooldown. Now, how brave is this Lancer? So this will just do some chip on the yeah, so this is the challenge, right? As much as I would love to get the Lancer to get an early hit on the Plague Lord, ultimately the Transcendent is going to heal any of the damage that comes as a result of it. I could try a cheeky hit on the bees, but it seems to me that we get shot down by everything in the retaliation, so I do potentially open up myself up to a rather nasty counterattack. Or not even a counterattack, just a nasty attack over there. The clustering for these units might make them think otherwise. But I think here I'm going to try at least sort of the gesture towards uniting the groups to pile in on that priority target. The only thing is I really didn't cover as much distance as I would really like, so I'm definitely going to need to find a way to get the link off. Otherwise, all of the effort is for nothing. That's an aggressive move for this guy. So I'm pretty sure that just handed me the Plague Lord. Okay, this is really good. Because the Vorderon is obviously the thing that's going to be able to eat to repair. This is going to be a nasty flank on a snapshot, but... Oh, no, they decided to go for the grenades. So again, if they go for little bits of chip damage, that doesn't hurt me too much because I just drop the Pylon and heal everyone up. And the good news is, it looks like the majority of these reinforcements are all melee, so again, there's a big assumption here that we're going to be able to clean stuff up in time, but if we can reduce this down to a bunch of melee problems, we might be able to do better than the AI did. Then again, there's a lot of melee here, so there's also a scenario in which we get overwhelmed really quickly. So I think kind of the priority is clean this up, and then hopefully these guys arrive too late. And as you can see, like, they're already kind of breathing down my throat, so... Alright, so first things first. Am I able to eat the... Yes, I am. This is really important to... Yeah, good.
Enemy destroyed.
So the rest of this is really just resolving the consequences of what we just did to that unit.
Enemy annihilated.
So, is this thing weak to anything in particular? It's weak to everything because I scanned it, right. It does have regeneration though, so it's fairly important to me, if I can, to deliver the coup de grace as soon as possible. So let's try and take advantage of as many multiple hits. Just wanted to double check too. So yeah, this thing's sitting in sitting on some armor. So I'm potentially putting these Amazon at risk, but again, the aim is to try and reduce as much of this armor as possible so that let's say my stronger units are going to be able to wipe it out. So this thing's got 17 health left. I don't think this is going to punch through in the way that I need it to, but I also don't really think that this unit has anything better to do with its turn, so we'll move them up. Oh, maybe.
Enemy destroyed.
All right. So, if I have a way of dropping the connection with the Transcendent, I should take it. The problem is, I really don't think I do. So I suppose the next question is, what unit are these bees really going to be healing? So this thing I don't believe... Right, yeah, that doesn't do a stun. Now if I do a Spirit Fly... That's 3 tactics, so that's not nothing. This is mighty tempting, though. Is there really no way that I can get... I feel like I should be able to get everyone in that. Ah, yeah, so it's got to be on a unit. Okay. So if I focus on you, yeah, just shy of the... Okay, well, again, eyes on the prize, so it should be the Transcendent that I... Well, hang on. Oh, man. This is too good to pass up. Okay, well, let's focus... see, the worker bees are going to heal him. Damn. But the one thing it does do is it keeps them from participating in anything else. Okay, so, with this in mind... Okay, so I'm not crazy about the fact that they're going to be flanked in this position, but they are in some pretty good cover here, so I'm going to accept the risk. Now the question is, what do I do for any of my other actions? The other thing I can try, of course, is to move up and get a blinding arrow off on these guys, too. Okay, this is going to seem a little reckless because I'm keeping them out of cover. But the idea here is I want to take these guys out first.
Enemy destroyed.
Yeah. So, I mean, my ideal would have been to get at least one of these units up to this area and to drop a blinding arrow on the parasites, but the parasites are not the... like... They're not the worst possible thing for me to fear right now. What I am going to do with this unit, I am going to try for the Stones of Dis... Oh, hang on. No, this is a different ability than what I thought it would be. Okay, so I only have 2 moves worth. Yeah, this is not even remotely close to what I need. So I suppose the question comes down to, do I want to do the chip damage on this unit? Do I think I'm going to be able to do something more effective by taking out some of the aerial units and then getting flanked by this one? I think I'll deal with the hand I've been dealt. And it looks like the piercing arrow does more damage, so... Although what I should have done was moved her up a little bit. So then the question is, do I sort of bring the thing home and take out this unit and ignore everything going on over here? Or do I try and, do I try and be a hero in some other way? You know, I think let's just take the pieces off the board. Oops. Enemy destroyed. I'm really sorry for hitting you. And of course, what this does do, what this does now is the flying unit sort of has this whole area ready to play with. There's a lot of different ways that they can retaliate. I guess they don't have any dedicated air-to-air anymore, though. I mean, this unit's not immortal. Yeah, so I either put myself in a really compromising position to get one set of attacks on them. What's like a half measure I can do? I still don't feel really comfortable about being up here. You know what? I'm not crazy about it, but I'm gonna set myself up for defense here. This may be a blunder, but let's see how it goes. I mean, that's fair. I didn't deliver on the Transcendence, so. Okay, so it looks like these guys are completely ignoring their lifeline altogether. This is going to be complicated to deal with in terms of all the melee and the retaliation, but I have a bit of a game plan. Again, it's really interesting to see them waste so much advantage with the removal of the soul burn. It's a really good detail for me to keep in mind. Okay, now this gives me a little bit more comfort because it means that my flying unit's going to be able to engage the bees over here, and then we can sort of clean up the rest over on this edge. He didn't like that. So we're not out of the woods yet, but I'm feeling cautiously optimistic, especially given the fact that I have a bunch of heals in reserve. So the big question now is going to be, how do I... Essentially, what I need to answer right now is, how do I deal with these melee units breathing down my throat? One really effective method is going to be to drop a blinding arrow. Now, I would have loved to use it on something else, but this is going to get rid of the overwatch. Okay. That means that this unit can get some breathing room, or it can just do a straight up attack. And I'm really not sure which one I want to do right now. I think I'll have it both ways. Okay, not a lot I can do, so... Actually, you know what? That wasn't the right call. I shouldn't have used her for a blind, because I could have used this unit to take out this spore. So the dilemma I have right now, in one sense, I'd really like to be able to... okay, well that answers that. I was thinking I'd go charging in and take out the hidden. Turns out I can, so...
Enemy annihilated.
So I did squander a couple of units doing this, but... Okay, so... This is an obvious choice, but is it the best choice? Yes, because I don't have anything to deal with this Xenoplague unit.
Enemy down.
Okay, so one of the things I want to keep in mind, if I can, is these units are going to start breathing down my throat. So if I can start moving the engagement sort of this way to give me another turn before these guys move in, I want to take it. I could... Nope, can't scare him either. So it looks like I'm going to wind up moving through the caustic smoke no matter what. I'm not crazy about what I lose in terms of armor, but it does allow me to... It does allow me to engage a a potentially damaging opponent. Now, it looks like this unit's not really able to do all that much this time around, so we'll just take advantage of the Inferno Claw on the Parasite, and we'll wait for other opportunities. The big wild card here is what I do with these Amazons. So, at least one of them, it makes sense to get rid of the Parasite. I think we'll move one up like that. So that's at least cleared out. So I can stand and deliver on the... Yeah, we'll move up one. We do need to get these people engaged. I was hoping that these people would be able to move up a little bit closer. That sadly wasn't on the card. So now the big question is, like, what do I want to do with my commander? What's the best use for them in the current situation? Where can I position them for maximum effect? At the current moment, I actually think taking out this worker bee, which has got a heal, is probably my best call. Now, these guys might be able to do some shenanigans while I'm... I'm trying to remember... Right, well, once per turn when this unit kills another unit, it recovers 1 action point. Sadly, there's nothing else in range, but it does at least let me close the gap a little bit for the enemy units. Okay, so the remaining question is, do I have a situation in which I want to put down... So, the... I don't really want to use the Spirit Flash because that's relatively expensive. I thought I had a... I thought I had a better heal somewhere. Like something that jumped. I could burn the bee. I mean, the Spirit Flash is tempting in this situation. So if I did a Nourishing Field Pylon, target cannot be affected. Am I missing something here? Healing Pylon to the battlefield. Pylon cannot move. All friendly biological and cyborg units within 2 hexes will heal for 15 when this ability is used, as well as at the start of each turn. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit expensive, but in terms of people who need the healing, we'll see. Okay, this is technically... see, this is technically the best spot for it, but it potentially blocks... No, you know what? I'm still going for it. This unit might die. Oh, we're getting lucky. Okay. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to take the Vorderon to get another snack. And in the worst case scenario, I just move it into the Pylon, right? Because it's all well and good for them to move their units in here, but there's a big choke point. Like, they're not actually going to be able to do all that much after they throw out their attacks. So I've got 1 turn before I'm able to make the magic happen there. Okay, so I gotta be a little bit careful in terms of the order in which I do things here. There is a strong temptation for me to use my... Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of things that I want to use my people for, and I gotta think about the right order. Okay, well, we'll start with the laser repeater, so we'll shoot the bees out of the sky. I'm gonna have to use at least 1 more unit for that, so you know what? Let's take... It's going to move her to the edge. So that means she's still in the area of effect. So she can either take advantage of the piercing blow, or she can try and set off a bomb. I haven't made a decision on that yet. I definitely want this unit in a healing range. Okay, so the question here is the Vorderon going to be able to withstand the retaliation that comes? Okay, so that's ideally what my Biomancer will take care of. Before I do that, though, I should figure out... okay, right. So... that laser lance...
Enemy annihilated.
My hero... I don't know if it makes a difference which one, but we'll change it up.
Enemy down.
Okay, this unit is going to move... Oh, hang on. I gotta move my... You know, at this point... it's a low probability, but I think we just try and take out the hidden. And that basically collapses their ranged ability on this flank. Just shy of delivering. I'm still sticking with the plan, so I'm gonna move in. So this buys him some time so that he can eat one of these melee units. Now, knowing what I know, I suppose the question is, do I want to try and take out the Engulfer with my commander, or do I want to try and move out and wipe out this hidden? And to be honest, I don't actually have an answer for that yet. One blunder I did make was forgetting that I had this Lancer available, so that Lancer would have been able to take out this Xenoplague unit, at which point that Lancer could have tried to take out either the hidden or the Engulfer. So the Engulfer becomes a little bit of a priority. Knowing what I know now, though, I'm going to engage the hidden in melee. This is not without its own risks, right? Because they could peel off one of these units to cause me some difficulty. But so I can wipe out the hidden, or I could cause some difficulty for these guys. I think wiping out the hidden is probably the correct call.
Enemy destroyed.
If I'm feeling particularly vicious, I could do a stun. Okay, so I've got one unit that looks like they're going to be able to do something to that hidden, so I won't respect myself if I don't try.
Enemy killed.
Okay, good. I have a burning desire to hit this Engulfer. So this will give me some cover on this end. And then because this unit's not really able to participate in anything else, so the question is whether or not I'm willing to stack up so much. You know what? I'll move up close here. So this is kind of baiting them to go through the caustic smoke, but the main purpose is just to weaken the melee units that are most likely to engage me. So now the question is, you know, do I want to try and do anything special to my units? Keeping in mind that this unit is not guaranteed to survive. What's the worst they could do to her? Okay, one, I am a scumbag, and I won't forgive myself if I have to redo the combat, so... so I'm gonna give myself the out, but I believe in this situation I should just be able to sit and wait. I don't believe this unit can die. I will consider doing some heals by the end of the combat, just so that, you know, I have a strong unit in place for the counterattack. But so far we've been able to get through this without losing a unit. I did not know that the caustic smoke was going to go away like that. That sort of changes the strategy a little bit. So I mean, that's unfortunate, but we can live with this. All right. I mean, it was close, but it looks like we survived it. So it's the easiest decision I've needed to make in a game. So one of the things I want to do right now is any units that don't have a need for healing, I want to move them first. I want them to do as much damage as they can. And the idea is going to be that they're going to be clearing out space for the units that do need healing. And ideally I'm going to be able to combine them in a nice place together. Yeah, so we'll move the commander up. I suppose the question is, how am I going to get everybody who needs healing in one spot? Okay,
Enemy
that's good. That probably is the end of the engagement. So, with that in mind... Oh, looks like I only get one Nourishing Field Pylon. Oh, because it's 4. Okay, well, who do I want? I guess it's the Cleansing Light. I mean, I'm treating this like I've already won. I haven't, but...
Victory is ours.
All right, so I did go through a lot of my energy reserves on that, but we pretty much just defanged the worst of this sort of this retaliation group. Hey, he's out of side. Okay, so now they're sitting on 2, and I want to build myself up. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, at this point, we basically, in my view, we have them on the run. I don't know if they want to try an attack with these, but we're looking pretty good. I do have a mild concern about this unit, depending on how fast these units move relative to my ability to move with this one. I might even just try and redirect. So, given the fact that the main threat is no longer in this area, what I might want to do is get her to go and pick up some goodies. Try and reunite with this unit so that I've at least got sort of a 12 stack ready to defend. The longer I can keep these people away from their home base, the more likely I am going to be able to take Zvirdo. And Zvirdo is really kind of the whole... It's the whole strategy, basically. If I don't take it, then I'm in trouble. If I do take it, then you know, it's kind of game over for these guys. This is oddly encouraging to see so many of these Kirko units like this, because I know we can deal with them. These plague units are nothing, so I actually kind of hope they attack. Still count as the lowest might capability.
Enemy operation detected.
Okay, sleeper pheromones successful. Your army is struck by sleeper pheromones, damaging and infecting your troops with a vile parasitic infection. Units lose 20% health, and units gain parasitic infection for 1 turn. Obviously, that wasn't enough to cause us to lose.
Production ready.
But as the title says, you know, I'm not too proud to you know, turn on my save options to make sure that there's only one outcome to these fights. I try not to abuse it too much, but
production ready.
It's hard. All right. I don't think I made any changes, but let's see where this goes. I have no idea where the hell they just went. Okay, they went up. Okay. So clearly we need to give chase. Their smartest move, of course, is to defend at Zvirdo. That's the most inconvenient for me. Ooh, they are shockingly close. Okay. We're not quite able to reunite this turn, which means that they might actually get caught. I should have, before I moved, I should have taken a look to see whether or not they're able to be engaged. That could be a problem. However, I'm hoping that maybe the threat of this will inspire those units to move the other way. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to see how everything else moved.
Operations primed and ready.
So I am a little cash strapped. It would be nice if I don't have to use healing or attacks. We'll hope for the best. This unit's still waiting for its big mama. So it looks like the Arborean is being built in Yuvalion. Now, the big question here, of course, so now that this unit's done for Yuvalion, I guess we have this Amazon. Oh, right, okay, they're going to be tied up. So let's say that we've got an Amazon, we've got a Star Guide, so that's 2. We've got 3 units. So what would the next 3 for this unit be? Ideally, they're all ground-based. I mean, we could try... okay, well, Pteranodon is kind of an... How could I not make it a Pteranodon? Oh, yes. This is a very delicate... it's a very delicate move to be doing. Ooh, that's expensive. It is so worth it, though. So basically everybody's got to get these things. There is a question about whether or not I can afford my tactical operations, though. I think I'm going to leave it with the... so I'm going to do one of these changes per turn, I think. Anything else and I'm courting... I mean, I'm potentially already courting disaster doing it this way. And then it did just occur to me that I can't actually build any other units, because if I do that, then I'm not going to have enough money for tactical operations. So not the most... Well, okay, no, I can still do production upgrades. Yeah, this wasn't the most well-thought turn on my part. But
Production ready.
we'll probably be
Happiness
able
event
to
in
survive my questionable decisions. The big question here, so if I suppose if there's going to be an encounter forced, this would really be the time for the AI to attack. This is actually one of the reasons why I wanted to get that modification in as early as possible, because if we do the modification when we're ready to take Zvirdo, I'm going to be in quite a bit of trouble. So let's see what the consequences are. Okay, so it looks like they want to fight. They probably are going to be able to get it. Although they may not be able to bring everything they want. Cool. Okay, that's actually really good news for me. So I'm able to engage these guys on my own time. I got to be really careful on this placement. Because of course they can counterattack with the advantage of the militia. Which is probably what they should do right now. Although, fortunately, it looks like it's all Kirko unit. Like, all standard Kirko units. Okay, so. It's an army of Transcendent. Oh my god. That would be so unbelievably frustrating to go up against. We got what we needed out of this. We're now in a position to defend ourselves. Let's give her her points. All right, Antaria the Slumbering. You're not getting any mods, unfortunately. But let's start you off with Infantry Commander. Warcry might be helpful. Surrounds their army with sports that feed on their units' kills to regenerate their hit points. Biological and cyborg units in this hero's army gain 15 health when they kill a biological or cyborg unit within 3 hexes of them. Hell yes. Making them harder to hit if they move. Parasitic spray. I mean, a lot of this is really... Oh yeah, bioresistance for the army for sure. I do have an animal in the stack, so animal discipline may not be bad, especially because I can reorganize around animal discipline too. I'm less enthusiastic about parasitic spray just because we're already going up against xenoplague and biological units. So I really want to be focusing more on counters to that. Yeah, let's do animal discipline with the idea that we're going to work around that. Rapid movements, let's give that a shot. We'll give him range specialist to 2, and I'm probably going to go for Deadeye. It's tempting to do steady aim, but if I'm going to be skittering, I'm probably going to be using less cover, so let's do Deadeye instead. It's a little bit of everything in there, but I think we'll be able to make it work.
Operations primed and ready.
God, there is such a temptation to just pound him with a soul burn right now. I mean, it's not going to cost me anything. I'm gonna be... I think I'm gonna have to be a little more careful than that. That's a silly thing for me to do. This unit should actually be getting ready to go into the fight. I get to make those moves 2 turns earlier than I otherwise would have. So if I move up like this, yeah, this is the real dilemma, right? So I can do the attack. It's 3-on-3 plus the militia. Oh god, this is a hard one. Screw it. Although... So I was thinking the danger I face is I move this unit too far ahead and the counterattack wipes her out. But the catch is, of course, if we take these guys out, there is no counterattack. And it's all melee Kirko units, which the Vorderon will definitely enjoy snacking on. So I'm gonna focus on the stack that's in the capital. Our Soulfire operation was successful. The enemy units the enemy units in the targeted army suffer 20% damage and are afflicted by soul burn for 1 turn. Now, I want to be very careful that I don't use a lot of tactical operations this turn, because I'm going to need those in reserve for this fight. Okay, so the AI doesn't really fancy my chances here. What does it know that I don't? Ah, they've got cannon. Alright, this is going to be a bit harder than I thought, but... Although I suppose, you know, this fight was going to happen one way or the other. Okay, so this unit, I'm actually going to move up to engage them over here. The question is, what do I do with my other groups? I feel like there should be 3 stacks. Am I going crazy? Oh no, there wouldn't be, would there? Oh man, yeah, I really didn't think this through. Alright, let's see how it goes. I'll probably reload from this though, because I was under the impression I was attacking with 3 units, not 2. Hey, Starbright Knight! How are you doing? Also, I'm just trying to think, are you the same Starbright Knight? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to recall if you are the same Starbright Knight from... Oh god. Sorry. This is a disaster. I wanted to check sorry, I was gonna check the profile and I realized I couldn't because oh Jesus. I'm sorry. Okay, let's not do that. Everything... Okay, I think everything's the way it was before. Sorry. Okay, I was going to check who it was. I'm sorry about that. That was a... I didn't really think that through. Sorry, I'm just trying to... I'm trying to think about how I'm going to handle this one. So, given that I've got 2 groups and cannons to deal with, or turrets to deal with, so I do still think using the Vorderon as sort of a shield and just chowing down on everything on this this side of the map is the right way to go. I'm just not sure about, like, so normally when I So normally when I split my forces, it always winds up hurting me. I really signed myself up for a world of pain here. Also, sorry, I was meaning to ask you, Starbright, you're a streamer, if I'm not mistaken, correct? I'm sorry, I'm really drawing a your name is very familiar to me, and I am completely drawing a blank as to where I should know you from. I'm also dividing my attention very poorly. Okay, so let me think this through for a bit. The turrets are automated. There's not a whole lot that I can do about that, although it probably is in my interest to avoid... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, those things have got infinite range. Okay, the majority of fighting is going to be happening with this unit. So Biomancer runs over to the side, and if I can get a scan in on the Frenzied, so much the better. I need to keep these guys just short of the range for the turrets. And I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, cover doesn't matter, seeing as everything's going to be melee. So just in case there's any funny business, we're gonna run. Now, it's maybe worth keeping in mind, like, I'm not completely committed to not crossing this line. This is a melee unit, so they're gonna have to do that at some point. But what I kind of want to do here is just, I want to see how much I can get away with. Yes and no, you used to, but not so much. We have a common friend of Ariella. That might be where you remember. Possibly. I knew Ariella in Vancouver, but I don't know if that... I know, actually, yeah, maybe that's it. I keep seeing your name in Ariella's chat. The amount of effort I tried to put into remembering the name feels so embarrassing if it's as easy as that. But anyways, I apologize for not being a little more on the ball on that detail. Okay. How much pain am I willing to take on? Quite a bit, I think. Again, these should still be out of... Ooh, that's... So that's going to minimize their ability to move in. They'll still be able to gunk, but little wins like that are nice. So basically what this lets us do is this lets us close some distance. This lets us show that we're still sort of in the fight without necessarily having to like we're still short of like a full commitment to the battle. We're not putting our people in range of the turrets or anything like that. I'm never gonna get to use this ability. I would like to have the chow down on the enemy on cooldown as early as possible. But no point in rushing things. Do I go behind the Vorderon, or do I go... We'll set up over here. This is a rather good flanking unit, but it is also short on health. And Olaf, because he's ever... Yes, or Olaf is definitely a very... I'd like to say a very good friend of the stream. He's... Loyalty. I value loyalty. He's... Sorry, I'm really trying to think how I'm going to extract myself from this this mess. Like I said, the trick is going to be that I don't want to use a lot of tactical operations in case they decide to make the move on me. The thing I've actually really liked about Olaf is that he stuck through me on casts where I like normally would feel like I didn't do a very good job. Okay, that's kind of welcome seeing as she's a melee character. I would have been more worried if they made the move on the Amazons, but they did, or the Huntresses. And I'll be honest with you, I'm actually not at all worried about the Transcendent on that on those pustules. I figured that's kind of a, at this point, it's kind of a cost of doing business sort of a. All right, I probably should have thought that through, but. All right, so I suppose the question is, which of these things do I want to chow down on first? Ah, the caustic smoke. All right, that's going to make life a little more complicated for me, but I think I can handle it. Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to engage him on this side, so I don't think, you know, I don't think there's any other way of me reading that. That I probably didn't think through. So one of the things I'll probably eat the guy in the middle, just to break the swarm shield. Yeah, I think we're going to wind up overwhelmed a little more quickly than I was anticipating. I need to break the Overwatch from that guy. The problem is that this is going to become a target for the turret. Anyway, it has to be done. Now, the other question would be, like, what do I do in return? Do I turn around and attack this thing from a distance? Yeah, you know what? I kind of have to. Otherwise, oh damn it! Hopefully the crit does it. That's a pity. So they're still going to be able to. They're still going to be able to do some shenanigans. All right.
Enemy eliminated.
Okay, so I suppose so the ideal use for the Biomancer would be to scan the frenzied units. I can only do that conditional on somebody dealing with the pustule. The laser strike's going to cost me 2. Okay, so I don't exactly want to move this unit off its current duties, but desperate times, and it saves me the energy in tactical operations. Oh my god! I have to pull a second one off. I can't even do that. Okay. Yeah, this side of the fight is breaking apart pretty quickly. So I'm going to buy myself a little bit of time and blind the immediate threats. I mean, if I have to... Oh, hang on. Oh, that would have been so good if she wasn't hit by so many of the pods. Okay. I don't feel good about it, but
enemy annihilated.
It's taken care of. So that frees up the Biomancer to scan. Again, I want to keep an eye on these turrets. Ideally, I still keep her in the as close as I can to the fight, though. She's going to be doing some healing and debuff removing. So now we get a bunch of perks against those units. It's better than nothing. Oof. Maybe those perks weren't worth it after all. Yeah, I mean, I'll mow down what I can. But this is definitely a less inspiring start. That was welcome. Again, I'm assuming that Vorderon's just going to run in and tear up the left flank. So the question is, what can we do about the right-hand side? Because we definitely left them under capacity. I've also lost the ability to sort of just by default erase an enemy unit. I'm pretty sure my Biomancer is going to have to do a heal next turn. I'm also very close to losing this hero. Almost certainly, I'm almost certainly going to wind up losing them. Although, yeah, I think it's too late. I think this is a lost cause. Yeah.
Hero lost.
Not great. I can definitely have seen this working if I had that third unit I thought I had. But there are simply too many people for me to be able to manage. I'll play it out just to see how this turns out in the end. But I think it's, especially if we lose the Vorderon, there's no point in continuing. It's kind of central to the whole strategy. The thing is, one heal on it is still not necessarily enough to bring the whole thing home. Okay. So one of the first things I need to do here is a Spirit Flash and take as many of these guys as possible in it. Next up, we take the Biomancer, and I move her as close as possible to where I can heal the Vorderon. Oh god, yeah, that is not even remotely enough to do what I have in mind. I suppose the good news is that I've got, you know, a pretty devastating Claw Strike, but I still need to be able to survive the retaliation. Also, the mistake was attacking that unit, because all of the attacks are going to be coming from this side, which of course they now get a flanking penalty for. I could try the grenade, but I actually don't think it's going to do as much as... I mean, I suppose the way to think about this would be, do I want to take advantage of the area of effect? So if I move up like this, and I look at the total damage that I deal to the enemy, yeah, that's not worth it. I should have just stayed put. Anyway, we'll live with our decisions. It's very tempting to do a blind in the middle here. It'll hit my own guy, though. I mean, I'm piling on where I can, but I just don't think I'm I just don't really think I'm delivering enough on the initial promise. So there's one thing that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be a little devious here. The reason I'm attacking and spreading out these attacks are based on the staggers that people have been experiencing. So, like, this guy gets 2 attacks. That's a bit of a worry. This guy gets 1 move and 1 attack. This guy gets no moves, no attacks. This guy gets 1 move, 1 attack. So what I'm trying to do is create a bottleneck through some of those attacks. I do need to get rid of the biggest threats, and it looks like I miscalculated because there's still one that's going to be able to hit the Vorderon. The one that I don't want to hit the Vorderon is going to be able to hit the Vorderon. I guess I'll just do whatever damage I can then. I mean, at this point, we're just kind of putting a brave face on what's going to be an absolute massacre on this side. I could have positioned that better. I'm going to get attacked from behind. I mean, let's see how the next turn turns out, but I'm pretty sure at this point I'm just going to wind up resetting to before I did the attack. That was unexpected.
Enemy annihilated.
So again, it's not that none of the units are going to be able to attack, but I have sort of enough space. Ah, damn it. I mean, they still had to give up some moves, but I thought they had just slightly less movement than they did. So I'm definitely going to need to... I'm going to have some way to eat something, but... Vorderon is in a tough spot. I think he's going to fall to the... Yeah.
Unit down.
So, I mean, there's no point in continuing on without the Vorderon. Yeah, so... As a whole, I would read that as encouraging. I know it doesn't seem like it, but, like, essentially what I need to do is I need to make sure that I've got everyone surrounding. So the problem is that when I did this attack, I had 2 units where I thought I had 3. So of course the good news is that I'm gonna not just going to be able to surround them on this side, but I'm also going to be able to bring this unit in. So I'll have 4 in total, which will more or less even out the count. Now the question, of course, is whether or not we're going to be able to survive. Excuse me. Whether or not we're going to be able to survive the intervening turns. Obviously, I'm putting a pretty heavy assumption on my ability to... Actually, you know what? Oh, that's as far as we can get. I'm putting a pretty heavy assumption that these 2 units are going to be able to make it. I'm going to move her ahead. This is just because I do eventually want to get this as sort of like a main invasion force. But these 2 need to stick together, otherwise they're going to get wiped out by the stack. Alright, I think Ovenwill's going to sit on energy production for this round again. I want to get my reserves back up. Same story here. I want to, well, I can afford to do some upgrades. Rondefell, what am I getting you to annex? Celery Stalk Supply Complex seems kind of tempting, but I know we have to go on an adventure there. So until then, let's take the green scrublands. It's basically so I can have some territory, and then when the time comes, I'll claim the Celery Stalk Supply Complex and I'll turn that into a forward base.
Production ready.
Okay, that's welcome. We'll also get some energy out of that. We'll dismantle the food. Yeah, we'll be fine.
Happiness event in colony.
Been really paranoid about the saves apparently, but it's because when I did the they're abandoning the base. I mean, it makes sense because the threat. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense because if Zvirdo is already lost, then and they lose those units, my next move is to Virkix. And I take out their hero and their capital, and that's GG. That completely makes sense why they abandoned that. So we'll see if we lose any units. We do not. So it's tempting as hell to raise this. But it would really be nice to have sort of a forward base. Colony awaits its fate. Okay, so Zvirdo. We absorb it for 10 turns. We raise it in 3. We get 90 food, 424 energy, which is not bad. 152 Cosmite is also pretty spectacular. We could say migrate colony, Amazon. Migrate the population of this colony to Amazon. This colony will become an Amazon colony by migrating the population. 20% of the colonists will be killed. Will receive minus 100 reputation, minus 200 race relations with the Kirko. It is very tempting to turn this into an Amazon colony. The Kirko units are not really going to be helping me here. I'm not sure I want the minus 100 reputation, though. So then the question is, do I want to raise it? And I suppose if I didn't want the minus reputation, yeah, we'll just absorb. Again, that's 10 turns. That's going to be a long time where we're waiting for those benefits. But, so here's one of the reasons why I'm doing it this way. Consider where we were at the start of the stream about 2 hours ago. We had not just one, we had multiple large enemy forces sort of hunting us while we were trying to be able to claim this colony. That was our goal. But the whole question about whether or not we were able to achieve it was another one. We were trying to sort of rely on the idea of, oh wow, okay, I think I know what they're going to try and do. It's just shy of what I need to. All right. At this point, I kind of want to go on the offensive. I'm pretty sure I see where this is going. But yeah, so our original plan was, it's like, okay, so we need to try and get a foothold in here. The question is whether or not we could hold it. Because right now, part of this story has been, I've got 2 full units worth of reinforcements, and we've got enough of an industrial base now that, we're going to have fairly strong stacks coming as well. So it's not just a question of denying the enemy in terms of being able to take out the, production and energy generation and whatnot. Part of it is just a question of whether or not, we're able to, have a place where we can sort of rest waiting for reinforcements. We've got that now. We've taken it. This is the reason why you want to hold this area here, is that as long as we're able to sort of take advantage of the fortifications, as long as we're able to move people to this area, we're much more confident in our ability to be able to take on what's coming after us. I'll admit I was a little surprised that they abandoned it, but I see why they're going to do it. It's not just because they're worried that I'm going to come and take Vikrix. They've got 3 units here. They just moved 3 units over to this area. In fact, what I'm going to do, let's raise the monitoring station. I'm going to build
Operations
another
primed
one.
and ready.
I guess that's going to take a turn. I want to see exactly what the capital's looking at. So what they're probably going to do is they're probably going to regroup those forces, and then they're going to take this trio, and they're going to make their move on this area here. So ideally, these two. So we know that they fear these two units. They didn't attack them, and I suppose the question is, can we race them? So they've got 32 moves. They've got 32 moves. Yeah, so they can keep the perfect distance between us. And so what we're going to have to do is redirect these units to catch these units. Which I think is possible for us to do.
By growing pylons of power, we can amplify our unique strength. Life resonates with Amazon power. Even the great mother tree fights for us. With her roots deep in the earth, she will crush aggressors between her great oaken boughs. Dr. Misty Glade, Terratech Bioresonance Team.
So crushing roots is going to be pretty good, but amplifying field pylon is the reason why I really got this. Deploys an amplifying pylon to the battlefield. The pylon cannot act or move. Friendly biological and cyborg units adjacent to this pylon gain 30% added damage while they remain adjacent to it. So when we're running around trying to harden our position, being able to drop these pylons, sit down, and just shoot shoot our arrows at the bad guys is a high priority. So I suppose the question is, do I want to go deep on the Amazon benefits, or do I want to try and boost up my biochemical abilities? I mean, we can also try the Celestial, but I think we have most of what I want out of that. Tenets of Healing gives me an ability, and it's a one per battle ability. Light of Truth. Oh, Doomsday Weapon. I haven't used Doomsday Weapons yet, just because I really like beating the scenario. Unit reflects 50% of all damage done to them back to their attacker. I really should be considering earning repercussion. It's gonna take a while. It's like 15 turns of waiting. Okay, well, let's see what the Amazon abilities give me. So we've got Blood Fury Inducers. When a biological cyborg or Aborian unit dies in battle, it gives this unit 1 stack of Blood Fury, increasing damage by 10% and regenerating 4 per stack, up to 3 stacks. I can see this working. It requires a fairly high amount of energy, which I am on my way to getting, but I don't currently have. The problem, of course, is, like I said, we're in a point where we're trying to bolster our numbers, not win through attrition. So Blood Fury on its own is not enough to compel me to move. Luring Field Pylon deploys a Wildlife Lure Pylon onto the battlefield. The Pylon cannot act or move. It summons a random Tier 2 Wildlife unit at the start of each turn. The Pylon lasts for 5 turns or until destroyed. That's a really good one. Particularly with that ability that gives me bonuses for animal units. So that's a fairly good argument. So the mod doesn't excite me too much. The Luring Field Pylon is definitely a helpful one. It takes 6 tactical operations though, so I need to make sure that I have a very clear plan for what I do with the rest of my moves. Strategically summons a powerful predator on the target location. Okay. And target sector is terraformed into Arcadian, so that's for food and energy. I can see that working. I just don't think it's the most pressing for me right now. So, and then if I go for Biological Affinity, we get the Earthlink Mask. 12 strength chance to apply Crushing Entanglement to target non-ethereal flying units for 2 turns. Also gains Plant Roots Defense Mode, which we got from that other mod, additional health. And then Spirit Link Module, forge a powerful mental link between rider and mount. Unit gains a 50% critical hit damage, 400 morale, becomes harder to hit. So definitely a bunch of really good buffs. So these are our advanced versions of mods that we're already using. So in total, it's going to take me, it looks like, 14 turns to get that. And then I said it'd take about 15 turns for me to get repercussion. And I just think being able to take all of my units and be able to do half the damage back, it's really hard to turn that down. So we're going to go for Perseverance, Way of Peace, and ultimately repercussion.
Now that we've discovered how to extract every possible detail from our research and created some truly wondrous things, let's document the process and then claim that's how we did it all along. Ryan Colkins, Configuration Manager.
Okay. Research development was a pretty high priority for me. We don't have any coastal cities right now, so hydro expertise isn't all that appealing to me, although I guess I get some... No, it's adaptive exploitation that gives me the extra Cosmite. I am going to need the Cosmite before too long, I think. Insurrection programs. Spawn an army of selected non-hostile faction to attack the target player. Not usable if no hostile factions are known. Huh. I can see that working, especially when we're ready to deliver the coup de grace. Operational support also seems really good here because I think the more tactics points I get, the better I'll be. We are at a point though where I've run out on my infrastructure, so I'm going to start with adaptive exploitation just so that I can get the extra Cosmite, and then we'll reevaluate where we're at. I'm probably going to go for Stored Sunlight. Sonoril, the light giver and life bringer, is smiling on you, Mahina Watega. We know. We saw your kind grow and spread glittering foliage using life light from your devices. Our saplings, touched by its echoing grace, grew ever so bloomy. Will you share Sonoril's gift and give us the foliage that lightens the night? So we're going to need to spend 675 industry on photovoltaic panels within 10 turns. All colonies contribute with their production to this project. Fine. I still haven't figured out what I want to do with Elmenwell yet. This guy's kind of just hanging around here. I guess I can move him up to Hodian. Okay, we've gotten rid of the... the negative. I don't know if it counts, so looks like we don't actually own this yet. Damn. Well, this unit's not going to come into play for a while anyway, so we're just going to very nicely ask these plants to move. Looks like we also have a surveyor drone to pick up, so that's also nice. Wait a minute. Why are you mad now? Alright. I kind of need to deal with the morale I thought the morale problems would have been dealt with from removing the penalty, but looks like they're not. Okay. At some point I also need to get some reinforcements for these folks, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I can move... It wouldn't hurt for me to have another Amazon moved into here. This is admittedly a more melee focused. Yeah, I've got some really weird divisions as far as... I should probably be specializing a little bit more than I actually am. Okay, we'll leave everyone as is for now. Wait a minute. Oh, that's welcome. Okay, realistically, what are we up against? All tier 1 and tier 2, it looks like. I suspect that will not be that way forever. So this is their commander. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear why they want to defend that. The majority of the strength was not like used to be here. So I'll admit I'm genuinely 50-50 on whether or not they're actually going to attempt to counterattack and retake this territory. I don't want to sit on my hands for too long because, you know, they're going to be able to rebuild units. Like, I only took out one production center. We might be able to take out Karik's Co, but it invites the question, you know, what stops them from retaking it? So if I move here, they send a swarm to take this out. If I put my main force there, then they send the swarm to take it out here. I suppose there's a small chance I might be able to send a unit to sort of to get here in time, but it's a little doubtful. I do think, though, if they stay here, if they're not going to make any attempt to move from it, I should punish them for turtling and claim Karik's Co, especially because it's got Cosmite, which I could use to strengthen my own forces. Yeah, I'm so glad that my allies, at this point, I've given them this colony as a gift. Like, imagine if instead of hunting marauders, they actually denied them their source of Cosmite.
Sector annexed. Production ready. Production ready. Happiness event in colony.
All right. The people in the colony are unhappy. If we do not act, they might start rioting. Rioting colonists will occupy resource slots and not provide income. We should consider building upgrades that increase happiness, such as recreational domes, botanical gardens, virtual entertainment plazas. We could also assign colonists to produce more happiness. That's going to be the last resort. Although, now that I notice it, I think we're done. I think we're done expanding. So at this point, we shouldn't be taking. We should be share half. That should give me a nice little bonus towards production for, well, temporarily at least. I know I'm going to have the riots. It's not great for my income, but it'll get me started. And I suppose the question is, so let's say I'm on my path to building up this unit. So I've got 2 base units. I could try a Bombardon. Arborian Sentinel wouldn't be bad either. Either way, these all cost over 100, so I think I'm gonna enjoy another turn of generating a large amount of energy, and we'll be ready to really let them have it with tactical operations. Speaking of, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't make life exceptionally difficult for them. So let's prime up an entangling overgrowth to drop on there. I'm assuming it's not gonna... there's a very small chance that it'll actually work on their capital, but... Okay, this is very suggestive. Okay, I was terrified that I didn't have him in the right spot. Definitely looks like they're going to try something here, though. Oh, you know what? I did screw up. This unit should have been up 1, so I'm only going to have 2 involved in this fight. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is going to be 2 plus the militia against 4. No, not even. Christ almighty. So what happens if I auto this? So I spent so much time talking about the counterattack. That was a valiant stand. Apologies, but I am going to be a scumbag on... Let's say it's. I mean, for want of moving one unit back, that seems like a bit of a harsh penalty to take on. Yeah. So anyone they attack has 2 supporters. Although this is definitely the weakest link. Looks like they're still going to try it, though. So if I was guessing, they would probably go for this unit, seeing as it keeps these guys from getting involved. And it involves my weakest stack. The difference here, of course, is that if we win and we take out their leader, then our counterattack on Verkix is something that wins us the game. Although if they're moving people here, it doesn't seem like they're actually doing this to attack. It seems like they're preparing for something. Fascinating. So it's kind of do or die for us here. If I don't make a move, on this stack, they're gonna clobber me. So what I want to do is I want to use the smallest number of moves to get the largest number of units involved. Actually, scratch that. They're probably going to take back Zverdo off of this.
Operations primed and ready.
So I think the commanders... Yeah, but if I do that, they're going to be at the end. So let's... I'm actually going to make the front line. So even though... So normally I would want to do this on the commander's army. The reason I'm not is because I want to... Like, they're just going to sit back and heal each other up. So let's do Soulfire here. Is there a reason for me to do Blessing of Starlight? Not really. I'm assuming they have enough to make a move on Zverdo. So I kind of just want to see what the AI does on this. Almost didn't lose anything. So again, the reason why I took that, I did the Soulfire on this middle group is because I want them to, like, if these guys just sit back, spending all their time healing themselves, doing what this does basically, that doesn't really help me. If these guys stay in the middle like this, then that lets me get into a good position to sort of put the hurt on them. Although it looks like they're rather confused about how they want to handle the situation. So now I see why we lost one of those units. These guys are in a bad position. But I have some plans. I think this is one of the things. I suspect the AI doesn't quite put the same value on not losing units that I do. And that's probably why I wind up doing some of these manually. Okay, so as always, trying to pick who moves first is a little bit of a dilemma. So flying units are kind of the most unambiguous to start off with. I don't see a situation where they're attacked by anyone. Now, I'm actually quite fine with her just sort of running into the middle of everything, given the fact that she's got her her special abilities. If I can, I'd like to get, yes, a cheap little scan in on the Frenzied, given that that's the bulk of their force. And essentially what we're trying to do here is employ the same strategy we've done all the time, which is to try and pick off individual groups as much as possible, combine our people as quickly as possible, while keeping their own people separate. It doesn't look like I have a lot of opportunities to be able to put some harm on the enemy. I don't necessarily see an advantage to setting her up as cover, as if the Vorderon were cover. I think that just invites an area of effect attack. Well, so does being back here, but I think they've got bigger problems if they get close enough to do that, so... yeah, all these are relatively safe, so I don't want to... I don't want to quite go into red move territory yet, just because I want to have some defense against their retaliation. Now the key on this one, so they've got some flying units and there's, I think, one ranged? No, it's all flying here actually. So what I kind of want to do here, especially given the fact that there's not that much ranged involved, I want these guys to charge into the center. Basically these two groups unite in time to be able to get these guys when they get involved in the fight. So even if it means like I might have... Nope, looks like I don't have opportunities to attack him anyway. But yeah, so at this point I potentially open myself up to a flank depending on how the next couple of turns go, but I'm willing to take that risk in order to try and achieve a sort of a longer term tactical goal. This is a little dangerous. Nope. So I wouldn't have thought that I would have moved the unit up like this, but it actually looks like they are reasonably safe here. The big thing is, though, I want to make sure that they're moving sort of like this next turn. This is sort of tempting fate, but I don't think these guys... Okay, they do have a... No, this is melee, right. Yeah, so they're not able to... They're not able to do anything about it. These guys are probably still going to be able to spit up on my own units, so... I don't necessarily need the defensive position, but... What I want to do, it's not the worst thing in the world to provoke them to spit up, because it means that they go into a disadvantageous position in order to be able to get the area of effect attack. But I sort of want to make sure that I'm not paying too much in the form of the damage that I take from something like that. On the other hand, I also want to make sure that my units, are somewhat aggressive in their movement, just in order to make sure that they, they're able to take advantage of their positioning when the time comes. I want to be a little careful with these guards here because they're not in the pink of health, but I think they are going to be a really good little cleanup crew for the... I think they're going to be a good cleanup crew for the parasites. And I'll admit, I'm a little surprised that I'm actually going to be able to get a shot off on the bad guys. So... Shackle it with Dark Vine that grasps at their mind. Devour Hope, attempt to feed on the hope of the enemy target unit, causing it to enter a state of despair. If it's successful, the caster heals for 20. Filled with despair for 3 turns. Okay, well, we don't have the range, so... Neither of these are particularly inspiring for hits, so let's entangle. So now we know if the parasite... If anything's going to be attacking me, it's going to be the parasite. And I'll move the... So I would have liked to have moved the Huntress a little bit closer to the action. I'm keeping this distance between the two just to make sure that... I mean, the AoE worries that I would have are kind of gone if this guy's entangled. But I do want to make sure that I develop some better habits as far as area of effect is concerned. And at this point, I kind of consider the biochemical maceration the cost of doing business. I don't worry that they're able to do that to me anymore. Yeah, fair point. I mean, it's the most attractive target for that guy. Well, I guess I know who's getting eaten. I was not expecting that. I definitely need to get that unit out. Oh, he's going to die to the next snapshot. Unbelievable. Please don't target that unit. Wow. So I got to get a stagger on the parasite. I'm really going to try and save that guy. I don't know if I want to like blow a attack op on it, but I feel like they've earned the right to live. One big thing to keep in mind here too is like I don't want to throw everything into the into this fight. The fact of the matter is that they're going to have a fairly credible force. I think it's going to be about 4 full strength stacks ready to attack the city, and I suspect we're not going to be in a position to be able to fight that. Nom 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 nom.
Enemy destroyed.
This is such a ridiculous unit. Okay. All right, well, if I'm going to try and save this guy, like, I got to commit to it. So, move him up like this. Good. Now they're poisoned, so they're going to be taking 5 damage a turn, which means I need to remove that effect as well. But I think I can get the Biomancer close enough to be able to... Yes. Again, this is beyond ridiculous from a strategic point of view. It's like the Saving Private Ryan for Age of Wonders Planetfall. Yeah, I actually need to figure out what the hell I'm doing with my hero unit here now. Because this Overwatch, they've got... Oh my god, yeah, they've got so much Overwatch to punish me for those moves for. Alright. Again, if I can wrap up all the
Enemy
melee, all the less mobile units where I can. So I don't think this unit's really going to be able to do all that much. So what I'm gonna do here. So this is Mahina Wateka. This is my commander. I'm moving her back a little bit just to make sure that this is still accessible. Ah, damn it. But it's not enough to kill that thing. Alright. And looks like nobody else is really in a position to do anything. Okay, well, in this case, I don't mind doing the red moves if they don't have anything better to do with. In fact, I think it's red moves across the board, because this side's going to need a lot of help really quick. So let's make sure that they're not in a position to get flanked by these guys. Now, I would have preferred to have used this unit for something else. But at this point,
enemy down.
I think just clearing out my position is probably the higher priority. I'm saving her for the absolute last because I am genuinely stumped as to how I'm going to try and work my way out of this. I think I'm still going to adopt, so I'm still going to adopt the stance that we want to move as far as we can into this fight. In this case, this is also going to mean doing some red moves just for mobility. This will protect me from the range, so it's not the most exciting, but it does the trick. Now, I mean, this isn't foolproof, right? They're still going to want their due, but we're sort of combining everybody up in a way that we're like, this is a better advantage for us. We're going to be able to make some decisions about how much we want to commit to this little group as opposed to this little group. And frankly, I would much prefer to be doing stuff with these guys over anyone else. Also, I know exactly how I'm going to help my ally. This one I'm actually willing to go really far ahead. It does put them in a bit of risk. I think the majority of attacks will actually come from this side. Now, again, this does sort of tempt these hidden units to go after the Shrike. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world if they do. But I'm going to drop a Spirit Bomb. Not quite as many units as I was hoping, but the important thing is it gives the stagger. That removes the melee overwatch. That gives this unit all the opportunity in the world to extract themselves from this rather unfortunate situation they've got themselves into. So we'll pull back. I think probably filled with despair. So basically, when this thing dies, we should hopefully get a bonus unit. So let's see whether or not this paid off. Okay, that's smart because that's going to keep them from being able to engage in the battle. Okay, that could potentially kill this unit. No, filled with despair is gone. That's also actually not a bad move, so this prevents this unit from moving, but that assumes that we don't have a way of stunning them. That's not actually true. We do have a way of staggering that unit. Oh, but they're going to stagger this unit into paralysis. That's really interesting. So they blinded their own unit. Why? So I really thought that my unit was going to get stuck. Well, they are stuck because of the staggers, but they're not able to capitalize on it because they've staggered their own people to death. Okay, well, we were expecting that to happen, so that's why these guys were facing forward. This is delicate, but I think we still have the better part of the exchange. Because I have a feeling that what I've gained in position is going to make up for the... I think it's going to make up for the kind of the situation I find myself in. I'm genuinely torn as to whether or not I want to try and bring the Vorderon into play over here. I don't think it's the smartest move because in the end it's range and it's aerial, and so they'll basically be able to be kited out of the spot. Yeah, you know what? We are still... Ooh. This is actually a little more frightening than I thought it would be. And it's purely because this unit is locked in place. But I have a plan. First part of the plan is lots of lasers. Actually, so the trick here is that there's not that much in terms of melee damage in the area anymore.
Enemy eliminated.
All right, I think these guys... I'm not going to completely pull them out of the fight, but I'm not quite ready to commit them yet. There is an argument for me to try and do a sleep on people, but not on this parasitic unit. I feel like there's other things we should try first. Okay, this character's basically bait. So of course they're open to flanks, but I'm hoping to try and distribute some of the damage a little more evenly amongst my troops. This one's in quite a bit of danger, but it's at full health, so I think I'm going to be able to sustain a turn of retaliation. Okay, so this is where that biochemical maceration was actually a lot smarter of a move than it seemed at the start. Because a lot of the units that I want to bring into play right now aren't able to do anything.
Enemy killed.
I'm saving that unit for later. I think I need to get an idea of the state of play before I invest too heavily in them. And again, I think the real fireworks are going to be happening here. They've got a bunch of ranged units. They have used up their blind, which is good. But at this point here, especially too, it's the enemy commander, right? So it's commander versus commander is kind of appropriate. But there is a question as to how much. I mean, at this point, I think it's time I actually put some serious thought into what I want to commit to, to this part of the fight. Everybody's pretty strong. Oh Jesus! I didn't even think. Okay. Change of plan. Now, there's clearly no way that this Frenzied's going to get taken out this turn. But I can give myself a couple of advantages. So we'll start by weakening it up. Now, ideally what's going to happen is at least one or two of their units is going to blow a heal on it. But more importantly, I'm going to put a sleep on the... So I can't stop all the damage that's going to be happening to my people, but I can stop the stuff that would make me most concerned, let's say. And if I'm lucky, we take out these bees.
Enemy annihilated.
Glorious. Okay, so the only people who are going to be able to help out, this frenzied unit is going to be one of the Transcendents. Oh no! Okay, I know what's going to happen. One of them's going to use Biospore Purification. But if they try to attack my Huntress, the Lancer replies. So we're in okay shape. Vorderon's not too helpful here because it's slowed. Again, that was where the biochemical maceration was actually a really smart move. And I guess the question now is, do I really want... I mean, I can try another Spirit Flash if I'm feeling like my position is kind of fragile. I'm going to try and reserve it for the next fight. So what I'll do instead is I'm going to... what I'm trying to do in this front bit is create a bit of a target-rich environment for the AI to, to try and figure out maybe... it's like, oh, there's a flying unit that's out of position. I want to try and take that one. This, hero's out of position. I want to try and take that one. They've sort of spread out all of their units like this. So what I'm hoping is that they will not focus down some of the vulnerable units, such as this one. They may not. I mean, it's a tough call. If I was feeling, yeah. I think if this was like an Iron Man playthrough, what I might try and do is put Protective Growth on this unit here, because that'll still leave me half of my tactical points. But for now, I'll risk it and see where it goes. Now, this is also not going to be a trivial fight, right? Because there's so many clouds in the way, and most of these hidden, I suspect, are going to be able to take advantage of their full strength sniper shots. So this is going to be a heavy round for us. Actually, yeah. That's kind of the big argument for Spirit Flash right now, is to do staggers on most of the sniper units. Which will stop them from doing the maximum amount of damage, but I'm going to stick with my assertion that it's not as scary as it seems. I wasn't expecting that one. But the intended effect was there, basically. They wasted their turns removing debuffs. Damn you! And looks like that strategy of presenting a target-rich environment has saved me from taking too much damage on most of my guys. Oh, that's a gift. This melee unit's gonna eat this guy alive. You're only pissing the Vorderon off. I might actually rededicate it to the right flank. The real problem with this hero is closing the gap. It's not not trivial. I might send her to eat that that hidden. Okay, so before I deal with the right flank, let's deal with the obvious moves first. She can actually really go anywhere. I'm going to move her up like this. I'm actually going to get... So this is to lock this hidden unit down. I'm actually going to get her to attack the commander, though. So my view is if we don't kill the commander, I at least want I want him staggered at a point where they can't do anything next turn. All right. Yeah, I mean the Vorderons. I did originally want them involved here, but they're just too slow given the debuff. So this will help me recover that. This is a little bit of a dilemma. So I'm going to move this unit one over to the edge. So the idea here is I'm going to soften up the Kiriko unit. And this guy is going to come and clean up. So there's going to be a couple of flanks that happen either from the Transcendence or the Pustules. We might be able to resolve some of that on its own. Okay. Let's say... I don't want to be too aggressive with this movement. Okay, so we'll move her up. She'll goop whatever she can on the Frenzied. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able to kill... So I know I can kill this thing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to kill the Pustule. If the probabilities were better, I would have gone for the Pustule, but I think in this case here I will...
Enemy down.
Again, I just want to take stuff off the board when I can. I still don't have a good solution about how I get that last stagger on the enemy commander. What I am going to do, though, is this Huntress clearly doesn't have anything else to do, so we'll get some shots on the Transcendent, just shy of what I needed, unfortunately. So... what's her deal? Oh, she's disabled. Can't use actions. Okay, well, I can at least position her for next turn, though, so... This is definitely a very aggressive move for her, but I'm okay with that because they are not going to have a whole lot of options when the time comes. This is a very nerve-wracking decision that I'm making right here, but the hope is that I'm going to be able to get yes. So these guys have just said goodbye to any plans they had for that group. I guess at some point I need to be helping my my guard, huh? Like, I don't want to overcommit to this, right? I still have a war to win. Okay, surely this is enough for them to... Ah, see, if they get the Overwatch, though... Okay. You only YOLO once.
Enemy annihilated.
And they don't have a melee Overwatch... Oh, because they're not a melee unit.
Enemy destroyed.
I should have done the war cry. All right. Well, if I'm going to be doing a Devour Hope, I should be doing it at close range. So who's most likely to get owned? 100%, that works for me. Who else is on the board still? Okay, well this is the easiest choice I've ever had to make. Oh, I should have moved the unit ahead though. And my commander... I mean, at this point, so we've more or less got everything locked down. We do have a ranged unit in the back here, but it's one that is not blinded. They're obscured. Yeah, I think at this point, just bringing the commander in for the final push is the right call. And here I'm gonna avoid doing operations just in the name of making sure that I have something in reserve for my more desperate situations. I'm kind of glad that I didn't completely abandon this flank, because the fact that they've got these heals does actually create some frustration. Alright, I was not expecting that much damage on that hero. Nom 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 nom.
Enemy killed.
Okay, so we'll deal with the pustule first. I do need to think about how I'm going to be getting some healing in sort of these final rounds.
Enemy down.
That commander is in a particularly fragile position. And unfortunately, most of my healing units are not in a spot where they can help. So this may be a situation where I need to use tactical operations. Stormtrooper training still in full force, I see. Ah, yes, this guy is poisoned too, so I need to wrap this up pretty quick. Okay, here are some ideas. Let's do, and it pains me to do, no, you know what? Cleansing Light. It's cheap. Does exactly what I need.
Enemy commander down. Enemy killed.
So again, the idea here is to just take as many pieces down as quickly as possible.
Enemy down.
One of the reasons I saved this one for last is just because I had that stagger. If I can beat the crap out of them, so much the better.
Enemy destroyed.
So yeah, the funny thing is I probably wasted the money on healing that unit. Poison damage is 5 per turn. They've got 9. They're still safe. Actually, I guess I can... Yeah, I can retreat. Then I don't need to worry about the damage they take.
Retreat successful.
I might have been able to do this slightly differently in order to maximize, so obviously there's a lot of redundancy on this side of the battlefield. A lot of units that are moving, and potentially, some of these could have been used on that back area where, I'm basically 1 or 2 units short of being able to take out this Transcendent. But I mean, it's kind of done at this point. Like, I need to just accept the state of play and move on. It'll be interesting to see how much of a defense I can get together. Oh, hang on. It's not the end of the world, but every unit that I wasn't expecting to be able to do some damage to that Transcendent just brings me a little bit closer to being able to end it this turn. Unfortunately, I think I'm running out of surprise units, yeah. So unless this guy has got some truly appalling range. So we're a little more dinged up than I would want to be at the end of something like this, but the last step really is just making sure I get the most out of my healers. So... Now, it's important here, I don't want to use tactical operations because the money and the tactical points are going to be saved for the next... those are going to be carried over for any defense that we need to mount, which admittedly is probably less likely all told. I don't think that'll make a difference, but I'm pretty sure I don't. So, I mean, this is a drawback about the way I build my heroes. I tend to think healing people is a waste of a turn. And I mean, it's kind of borne out in this playthrough, right? Like, the important thing to keep in mind is that so much of the threat that's been generated, or that potentially is generated by these enemies, is negated by the fact that they've been spending their turns removing all the remorse that I've been putting on them. Oh, fine.
Victory is ours.
And so I don't want to have, some of my best units wasting their turn removing status effects from, tier 1 infantry. But yeah, so I mean, one of my heroes is a lot lower than I'd want her to be. That Paragon unit is sort of on the brink of death. But overall, this is a pretty acceptable. I'd say this is a pretty acceptable state to be in. So, look, it's not the most secure position I've ever been in. I really wish I had an indication about exactly how much movement they had. So I've got 2 units, neither of which is exact, like, they're not the strongest defenders here. This is the super unit. But if they attack the center, it doesn't matter. What's the ugly orange thing in your Amazon stack, Army of Mahina? Oh, the Vorderon. So this is something that we actually got from the... I'm assuming this is what you're referring to. Excellent question. This is actually something that you get as part of the story. So this is one of the... I don't believe this is something that you can normally get from a from the Amazon... like the Amazon like units and upgrades and whatnot. But Genetica World Theme Park was supposed to make TerraTech a boatload of money. Bragging about their creations, the CEO assured his guests that nothing could go wrong. I remember his shrieks when a Kirko Ravenous Pteranodon hybrid escaped its containment. The Vorderon's wounds healed with each lawyer, animal herder, and infantryman it devoured. I escaped on a child's hoverboard. Vorderons overran the countryside, leading the Star Union to eventually quarantine the planet. Now and then, some military genius will capture a Vorderon thinking to exploit its savage power. The story always ends with blood splatters and screaming. Malrek Nib, RV2220X, run away. But this is the unit that we've basically been eating all of the Kirko with, and I do love it so very much. Okay, so I'll be honest with you, the thing that keeps me up at night is these units being able to get into position. So at the very least they'll have 3. I hate that I'm leaving this unit kind of hanging on its own, but the thing I'm most worried about is this this area getting surrounded. So at the very least, if they attack this weak point, we've got 3 units worth of defenses. If they attack this unit, it's kind of a 6 stack with weak reinforcements. But again, those reinforcements get augmented by the fact that I can use my tactical operations to improve them. Actually, no, hang on. Because they also, if they attack over here, then they... Right, no. Okay, so if they attack over here, it's still a whole lot of defense. This is the weakest link. If they attack over here, I don't know if they're going to be able to get everyone to completely surround them. It will still just be 2 units protecting them. But I will be able to go very heavy on tactical operations for it.
Discipline the mind and the universe will trust you with its secrets. Lucian Wu, Guardian of Mind.
Isaac Noobton says, what's the rules for how my influence expands? All the borders are shaped really weird. Excellent question. So this is definitely very different than... I mean, even the earlier Age of Wonders games. But I think probably the systems you're thinking about are something like Civilization, where, you know, if you have a certain amount of culture or if you have a certain amount of, you know, a particular stat, that's how your borders work. This one has actually tremendously simplified the resource production. So I'm just going to take a minute here in the tech tree. We said we're going to do Way of Peace so that I can get repercussion. So basically, it's better to say that the borders are fixed, and ultimately what you do is you're going to expand to particular tiles. So each colony will have its home tile, and then it's going to have up to 4 other... also, I lied. I do have a coastal tile, it turns out. And then it's going to be able to expand into 4 other areas, and those 4 other areas are where you'll get your resources. So for instance, this one has 1 food, 2 energy, and 1 industry. The food comes from it being Arcadian, the industry comes from it being a mountain, and then Arcadian and mountain each have 1 energy. So the sort of the biome, and there's a few other factors that will go into what types of resources you get. But the idea here is that as your colony grows, you're able to take one of these areas, and the borders are determined basically by the geography. A little bit like, I mean, so like you can definitely see this in our world maps, right? Ones that were sort of former colonies tend to have these like long straight lines drawn on them, because you can just imagine some civil servant being, it's like, yeah, we'll just put it over there. Whereas if you take a look, especially in Europe, right, you have these really intricate little lines. Sometimes they line up with rivers, sometimes they line up, but what they do is they sort of reflect what people were able to sort of defend, or certain identities that people had. So the idea here is that all of these borders have sort of been established. How, I don't know. But the idea would be either through the resources that it gets you, or your ability to defend certain areas. The borders are predetermined, and by annexing that sector, you take everything within it. I actually rather like this system, so it's a bit simpler. You might think it analogous to the way Endless Legend does it. So Endless Legend still has hexes where you'll have certain amounts of production, but for the purposes of owning a certain region, if you establish a colony there, it's yours. You can do things like, if there's a glass steel deposit, you can build an improvement to claim it, for instance. So this is sort of I'd say this is the logical extension of what Endless Legend brought to the 4X genre, in the sense that this one basically is reduced. So in Age of Wonders 3, you can build a colony and you'll agonize like every other 4X game. It's like, oh, do I put it like 1 to the left and you get this special deposit? Or do I do it like 1 to the right and I get that other special deposit? This game has simplified that by reducing it down to regions. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't an interesting economy, or that there aren't interesting decisions to be made through certain decisions that you make about what areas you want to take over. And as it is, as the Amazon, I'm able to turn certain areas into Arcadian or forested, which is I'd say a fairly strong ability. Although in this case, I haven't necessarily done it because I'm already kind of overdone on forests, to be honest. So hopefully that answers your question, though. So the borders, the way you expand. So actually, sorry, to specifically answer your question, how do you expand? You expand through hitting certain population thresholds, at which point you can add one of these regions to your territory. But what I think you were really getting at is how weird the borders look, and the borders are predetermined by the map. Which will basically, it'll give you your that's what's responsible for the way it looks. They're not meaningless, by the way, though. Like, you do have to have adjacency when it comes to taking certain sectors. So some of these weird blobs do actually have a meaningful difference. I could access this territory from this border, and also this border if I really wanted it. And that'll sometimes be how I make certain expansion decisions. It's also actually kind of it's neat that you asked that too, because one of the things that I was focusing on this playthrough is the fact that the Amazon, so food improves your population size. I think that's kind of true for most 4X games. The Amazon actually have a special ability where if they kill certain basically certain types of units, if they kill them, they actually get food, which gets distributed inside of their colonies. And so one of the approaches I was trying to take was to grow really, really fast, so that I would sort of expand out my regions as quickly as possible. And so I built it around a lot of early engagements. Now, that worked reasonably well. The benefits of that are really only being realized now that I'm starting to build these somewhat more meaningful armies. I was definitely quite far behind on sort of the arms race, but it looks like we're getting over that now. Although it is still taking me a while to get my most powerful units in. I wonder how we rank on the military still. Okay, we're 2 of 3 now. It only took us to like wipe out, multiple large armies from the AI to get there. Vitality wouldn't be the worst thing. As much as I hate it, I'm actually going to put renewal in. And the reason for that is this unit has actually had some trouble surviving, and on top of that, I know we're going to have to deal with some bad guys showing up and potentially ruining my day. I suppose if I felt particularly threatened, I could move out of the city center, but I think that would effectively abandon the colony. I'm going to do another I am ashamed save because I'm not 100. So it's maybe worth saying here, I am trying to get past this whole, like, if I lose one unit, I reload. But one thing I'm trying to do is understand the game a little bit better, too. So if I knew that surrounding units would be pressed into the service of defending this colony, which I think they would, I would actually prefer to move this unit over here because I now have I know at least one of them is going to be pulled out of the combat, but basically the risk to this unit doesn't exist anymore. Every unit's going to get sort of three stacks worth of defense. The problem is that if it turns around and I don't get sort of the reinforcements for defending the city that I think I do, I may wind up losing it. And right now, I think this is acceptable. We'll find out. But yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing it. It's partly just I want to get an idea about how the game thinks about itself, I suppose, for lack of a better term. Oh yes, I suppose it doesn't quite mean the same thing it used to, but I guess they can enjoy a little bit of frustration. We're still priming Soulfire, so I'll leave that be.
Production ready.
This isn't the most important thing we can be doing right now, so... And I really do want to turn some of these colonies that are producing energy off, but I do think we're going to be spending a lot of money on defense. So we will wait one more turn. No, they went north. Okay. It is shockingly tempting to rush the capital. This is not without risk, but the thing is that if you... Whoa! I wasn't expecting that. I feel like we could have done better, but... I mean, really, the only reason I did that because it was in my way, but... So the reason I'm doing this is that if you take out the enemy commander and their capital, I believe that takes them out of the game. Oh, you know what? I might have just lost that city. Let's just calm the hell down. We're not out of the woods yet. I'm still going to make the move on Verkix. I just want to make sure that I've got, like, backup. So I don't think they're going to be able to make it to the city in time. What I want to do, though, is make sure that... I want to make sure that my guys sort of are reinforced rather than split up. I'm also going to avoid taking universal nutrient biodomes. There's absolutely no reason for me to put my units at risk like that. It does mean I lose, like... I do want there to... I want to have some meaningful progress in terms of the ground that I'm covering. But I don't want to... You know, I don't want to have to basically do some kind of combat in order to get it done. Now, it might be that they can actually cover the distance and take on this unit, which would be a shame.
Operations primed and ready.
I'm going to assume that that won't work.
Incoming communication.
You're an abomination, an obstacle to this planet's return to greatness. This commander's opinion of you has changed by -100. Why? I like you. Your message came as a pleasant surprise. You should know that my people regard you with much respect. Uh-huh. So one of the reasons I'm rushing the capital is that if I can take that capital in 2 turns... I'm pretty sure it's game over for the Kirko. I'm not too worried about sending this thing on its own, because even though they have lots of units, like, this is... Why do I have 2 Biomancers here? Ah! Alright, well, there's still some pretty tough units. I'm gonna get you to move off my Cosmite, please. We welcome you, Mahina Wateka. Have you come to observe the beauty of our pollination, or do you have some other goal? Would you be able to grant us access to this location? We gladly leave this garden to your tending, Mahina Wateka. Our seeds will be planted elsewhere. And there's an abandoned quarry. It gives me extra industry, so that is also a tempting pickup. So I'm not, again, so I've been ignoring the Marauders because I've been putting the investments into my my military infrastructure. You know what? Let's pick that up as well. Would you be able to grant us access to this location? We gladly leave this garden to your tending. Our seeds will be planted elsewhere. All right, so... now again, the hope is that we'll take Celery Stalk Supply Complex, but we're gonna need an army to take that, so no point in me worrying too much. The Green Scrublands is sort of my, also ran sort of expansion. So even if this thing gets overrun, which it's unlikely it will, it's still something that I'm taking it because it'll give me material. Okay, yeah. So now that there are cities to take over, my allies decide to show up. Absolute scumbags.
Production ready.
I think I'm doing well enough as far as energy is concerned to start putting some investment back into my armies. So let's give them a fancy new Pteranodon. More importantly, I really want to see, and you know what? I know I just saved, but I kind of want to see how this turns out. There's two things that interest me. One, leaving this area open. Two, I want to see what happens with this unit that's on its own. Again, I don't think they're going to have enough movement to be able to take all this stuff off on their own. But I don't know, right? The game doesn't do a fantastic job of letting you know what the enemy's range is. Okay, that's maybe not too surprising. They need to protect what they have, and there's an enemy force on its way to claim it. That's... Whoa, hang on a second here.
Objective completed.
Okay, I thought that was the commander coming back, and I'm like, no. I have another turn, damn it. Be thanked, Symbiont. Sunril now nurtures our saplings, even as he sleeps. You helped us blossom. We share the fruits. Now, this is purely me trying to see whether or not I have the range for this. We're taking everyone as deep as we can. No, god damn it. Okay, well, I still have a second best. So I am a little curious what happens if I auto-combat this. Now, we lost a couple of units, but I suspect what happens then... Oh no, we went full... I gotta change...
Operations primed and ready.
I gotta change the order then. Yeah, if it's one turn. Sorry, I thought I had enough... Wait a minute. Does this unit have the... No. I still need... Wait a minute. I'm losing my head. This cannot be! We were promised to be immortalized! She promised us! Seems that she lied to you, just as she betrayed her own people. But I will give you a chance to redeem yourself. Tell me where Birain went, and I will spare your life. Decline, and we will be forced to resort to other measures to extract the information from you. Not necessary. She means nothing to us. A path to power, nothing more. If anything, we were using her. Now that she is on her knees, this coward shows her true colors. She left for Avium SK-51. We swear it on our ancestors. I believe you, but you don't seem stupid enough to continue lying to me. Biomancers, fetch a containment unit. Her contamination must be not be allowed to spread any further. No, please! You cannot deny us open skies. A plague cannot be contained. You will succumb anyway. A team of biomancers seals the Kirko inside a hermetic case and proceeds towards the biosecurity engagement facility. Although killing that wretch would have destroyed the plague inside her and might have been a more merciful option, we need more information about how this plague works in order to fight it better. Now to pursue Birain to Avium SK-51. She won't elude us a second time. So, I'm sorry for auto-resolving that, like, the climax, but I'm half an hour past time, and the idea here was as long as I was able to take the capital this turn, I would take it out. I'm going to assume that... I mean, you'll notice at this point I don't care what units I lose, because it's, it's like chess. It doesn't matter if you have a king and a pawn by the end, just as long as you achieve your objective. While some empires lie in ruin, we dominate the world under banners of newly formed alliances, proving that strong diplomatic bonds can be more powerful than the largest of armies. In trust and unity, we march forward to a better tomorrow. So you can sort of see here like how uncertain our position was for such a long time. Like from the start, both were advancing really quickly. If you look at the height, like, so this is roughly around the time that we were trying to, oh, interesting. Oh, wow. Okay. So like even when I got those those wins against those units down in the corner here, their score was just skyrocketing, and then it all sort of turned. You can sort of see, I thought you could see. Okay, so maybe this is when the fights happen. But yeah, I mean, just looking at that distance, right? We're effectively in third place for the entire run, but if you play the objective, you still pull it out. Looks like it doesn't let me save, so we'll do continue campaign.
Even though we arrived too late to confront Berhane in person,
Oh, Berhane, sorry.
we were still able to foil her plans and contain the effects of her xenoplague experiments. Berhane should have faced me while she still had the advantage. Now that we have survived first contact with her parasitic weapon, we can study it and adapt our strategies accordingly.
Okay, so I should be able to do a save here. So let's talk. This is actually not a bad. I kind of knew I was going late, but it was the spot where I wanted to end, just because it lets us talk about where we are in terms of the Age of Wonders playthrough, and just generally how things are sitting. So my plan will be for next week, if I can, to do Avium SK51. It's a level 4 difficulty, so not the easiest thing in the world. In an ever-shifting environment, the Amazon must adapt to withstand the ruthless enemy. I don't know if this is supposed to be a winter biome or a desert. I think it's ambiguous for a reason. Also, of course, we have the last of the factions unlocked. So if we wanted, we could do Z17, P227, XXX96. An ambitious syndicate house craves the secrets of a forbidden planet. Now, it wouldn't be the first time we've done Syndicate, because we did play the Syndicate in Revelations, but it would be nice to do this one just because I feel like I didn't get a full grasp on how the Syndicate work. I think I have a slightly better idea how the Amazon work, although I had the benefit of getting clobbered by them a couple of times in the Invasions DLC before I went too far into it. And I'll admit, I've done a couple of planet options. So there's two versions. I'll show you guys in the main menu what these different options are. I have played around with the assembly a little bit. I find them quite fun. I think my heart is still with the Vanguard. It's maybe because it's the first one that I learned, but definitely the strategy of sort of sitting down and just building this wall of death that people need to run through is still one that kind of works for me. I think I'm starting to learn now the limits of that strategy, particularly with tactical operations. But the Vanguard can still be very strong in terms of just sort of standing in position and forcing the enemy to come to you. Although, let's face it, in any type of game, that's not always necessarily the most fun. So if you've ever played strategy games and you sort of feel like, the game goes to the person who like rushes, and if you're a bit like me and you like building this big beautiful base and you want to see the thing grow, I think one of the reasons why that is... So I don't think it's a mistake. I think that it is very specifically by design that those kinds of strategies are promoted in real-time strategy games. Because consider the alternative. If it's super fun to build this big base, if it's super fun to sit down and turtle, then effectively you wind up with a game where you have every incentive to drag the thing out for hours. or at the very least an hour. And if you've ever played MOBAs, like, especially if you're like in the lower skill levels, kind of like I am in a MOBA, and you just wind up with these hour-long games where it's just like, everything's kind of sucking. You just want it to be over. If you lose, you feel even worse. If you win, you don't necessarily feel good about it. You just want the thing to be done with. So if you've ever had that experience and you still kind of feel like you can't get into real-time strategy games multiplayer because it's incentivizing, too much early aggression, it's because the alternative is to give you the feeling of, of those endless MOBA rounds. This, by the way, is like when you're in the low sky. I mean, so maybe they've done things to change. This has been a couple of years since I've really been into it. But like, you'll see people in forums kind of complain. It's like, the enemy team, they were playing wrong. They had like 5 carries and they still won. It's like, well, yeah, because, if you have something that scales really well into the end game, and you have 5 of them and the enemy team has 1 of them, just because you're playing, according to some textbook about it, this being the right way, you're ignoring all the preceding chapters which say that if somebody has these units that scale really well into the late game, you need to beat the crap out of them in the early game and make sure they don't get to that spot. And if you know that, in the earlier games, it's, nobody's really going to punish people for bad decisions. So this might seem totally out of left field, but this is a little bit like how I play this game, right? I invest way too much in early growth and industry and not nearly enough in my armies. This playthrough, I kind of tried to do that, and again, I fell into the trap of doing a lot of industry. As it happens, the war was sort of delayed enough that I was able to sort of get that toehold. And you can sort of see, once that toehold happened, we were in a position to just really like roll them up like a carpet shortly afterwards. You can even see from that graph that the Kirko sort of fell off a cliff really early. And yes, admittedly, I did a lot of like saves, but the number of saves that I actually, needed to reload and sort of take advantage of were, as a proportion of the number that I actually took, were quite small. Now, admittedly, those ones were also really pivotal, so that's not entirely fair. But the AI doesn't complain when you go through that. So, similar idea here. If it's turn-based or it's real time, if you fail to punish someone for the decisions that they make, you're usually going to wake up and see that you're being faced down with an overwhelming force at some point. Anyways, my plan for the next few weeks and Mondays at least is we'll keep going through the main campaign. So we're probably nowhere near the end of the main campaign. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main missions, and then Morus Secundus, which will have some big mystery encounter at the end. Or maybe we play something new. That'd be interesting. Although what it is, I have no idea, because it would seem a little unusual to keep a race under wraps and like not have it available in new planets. But I mean, who knows, right? But yeah, so I'm thinking we'll continue on. We'll wrap up the Amazon next. It usually takes me multiple sessions to get through through individual campaign missions. I like this feature of the game, by the way. Like, it's a nice meaty campaign, which is different from playing the quote-unquote standard game. Triumph clearly put a lot of effort into it. It's embracing what makes the series interesting in the previous iterations too. There's a story to tell. There are things that you can get away with that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get away with in a multiplayer game, and just overall, it's a nice, satisfying experience of running through a game with its own take on 4X, particularly with a heavy influence on the strategic layer with an interesting tactical layer, whereas most games like this tend to leave it all on the global map. But I'll do as best as I can for the foreseeable future. I'm going to try and do as much Planetfall and wrap up the main campaign. Of course, if something else that fits the Monday mold comes up, we'll put Planetfall back on the shelf for a little while, and then we'll come back to it when we're done with the other thing. I was talking about the main menu. So for those of you who are still considering this game, again, we did mention earlier on that I was given a key for this from Paradox, not just for the base game, but also for the DLC, which is enabled, which is Revelations and Invasions. Probably didn't get to see as much Revelations and Invasions because it is the main campaign. I don't think they did any changes for the DLC for those. However, they do have additional missions. I believe it's 2 big missions for each DLC. So the campaign, the story continues with 4 extra ones. This is one of the reasons why. I mean, if you look at where I was in the screen, I should have looked at that before. So let's say that the DLC wasn't released. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'd probably be starting the final. I mean, realistically, I would have done 1, 2, 3. We'd probably be on our way to finishing the last assembly at that point. But for those of you who are maybe like, well, maybe I don't, I'm not as interested in the story campaign, or like I want to know that this thing has something to offer beyond the main campaign. Sure, I mean, you do New Planet, so if you like Civilization, if you like Endless Legend, if you like Endless Space, if you like, pick your favorite 4X game. Really what you're looking for here is New Planet. There's definitely new stuff that is added for each of these planet types. So it's not just cosmetic. There's sort of a different feel to each of these things. And they are features that are added in inside new DLC. So obviously, because I have a whole bunch of DLC enabled, your mileage may vary. So I think the Tomb World was something that was added in DLC. The Infested World almost certainly was added. Actually, that might have been for the deluxe edition of the game. I'm pretty sure Conquered World is from Invasions. Come to think of it, I don't think Ravaged World was... Well, no, there was definitely more. Anyways, Imperial World, I'm pretty sure Imperial World, Practice World, Frontier World, Capital World were ones that came with the base game. I'm less certain about Ravaged, Conquered, Infested, and Tomb World. But if you want to be informed about where that is, I believe it will tell you the types of worlds that you get if you take a look at the store pages for those DLC. Anyways, I'm quite fond of this game. I'm a little disappointed that, like, in terms of concurrent players and like peak players and whatnot, it seems that more people have sort of stuck with Age of Wonders 3. I wonder if that's similar to the Civilization thing, where it needs some DLC to be released before people come on. But I actually quite like, I like the gameplay changes that Planetfall made, in addition to showing how well Triumph works with this type of game in a science fiction setting. I think it's a really satisfying way of approaching the material. I wouldn't have been sad if they did like an Age of Wonders 4. I think fantasy obviously works well. It's why they've been able to release, 3 different versions of the fantasy game, plus the DLC for them. There was Eternal Lords, and then another. Why can I not remember what was going on for? Anyways, whatever it was, like the fantasy series is fine. It's great. It's been perfectly enjoyable to go through. I've been very pleasantly surprised by Planetfall. It came up in chat a little bit earlier. I like the way that they handle expansion in the economy. I think it abstracts away enough of the details to let you focus on the military without necessarily, quote unquote, dumbing down the economic aspects of the game. I do think that Age of Wonders benefits from reinforcing to the player that the focus is on the military, because I really run into the bad habit of spending so much time building like an industrial base, which will be taken over by enemies. And I don't know, overall, I just think, as you might expect, right? The same studio making a game from, I guess it was like the 2000s, early 2000s when the first one came out. They've been doing this for a while, and it's pretty clear that they've found what works and what doesn't. And the latest iteration, I think, is going to be the one that takes in all the lessons. And so it makes sense that it's the one that works the best. It is worth saying, like, from a viewer point of view and from a concurrent player point of view, I sometimes wonder if I just have a bad taste in games or a different taste in games. as to why this doesn't quite seem to have had sort of the universal take up as the other ones. But I'm a really big fan of this game, and I like playing it. As far as future plans for the stream, the first one came out in '98. Wow. But yeah, so I mean, 2 decades worth of improvements. In my opinion, it shows. Although maybe comparing it to the very first one isn't quite the appropriate step. But yeah, anyways, it's a wonderful series, and I'm really happy that I've been given a chance to keep coming back to it with the DLC. As far as plans for the rest of the week are concerned, so tomorrow at 7 o'clock, I'll start out, well, around 7. I know it takes me a minute sometimes to get the vodcast set up. But if you like participating with chat, the next episode of Morrowind, continuing with the same character from Elder Scrolls Arena and Daggerfall, will be coming up. I will be in chat, but obviously it is a pre-recorded video, so I will not be able to greet you in the Dunmer voice in person. If you prefer, so if chat isn't your thing, or for whatever reason you'd like the highest quality version of it, 60 frames per second, 1440 horizontal lines of resolution version of the playthrough. For the most part, there's a couple where I blundered and did a broadcast resolution version of the game, but for the most part, the high quality version of that video will be on YouTube at exactly the same time. And those are a little more consistent at coming at 7 because YouTube's automated all of that. If you like VODs, the next Cultist Simulator episode will be up on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. The reason I do 6 o'clock is they're 20-minute videos. It gives people sort of a 40-minute window in which if they want to catch both the VOD right away and then follow up and watch the stream, they can. I'll still be starting the broadcast at 7 o'clock, and we'll be coming back to Mass Effect. I never like assuming that I'll be getting a key for something, but if Kit Fox does send me a key for Lucifer Within Us on the 15th, I will be streaming that. That 15th is an off-cast day for me, so in that case, I will be, I'll probably be doing a special broadcast for that, but no promises until I figure out exactly where we're at. That will mean that there will probably be an interruption to the Mass Effect playthrough, but I think Lucifer Within Us, assuming I get to play it, was interesting enough that I think it'll be worth it. And then, but for the purposes of the next week, Wednesday and Friday, at the moment, I'm thinking of doing Mass Effect 3. And then finally, I ended the last week by trying to say some of the plans that I had for other games. So High Strategy Urukan is one that I've been meaning to do for a while. The game I was forgetting, and it was because I was looking at my Steam library rather than my Epic library, I have been very late in getting back to Industries of Titan, and quite a bit has changed. It is definitely a really fun and interesting game, and I've wanted to come back to that for a while. I'm still not sure when I'm going to pull it off, but I am going to be coming back to that, and that was the one that I had forgotten to say. Now that I've got all that out of the way, I'm getting close to the 4-hour mark, so I'm going to raid Ponce tonight. Ponce is back to Remnant from the Ashes. He's actually, so Ponce is really good at sort of Dark Souls style games. So I feel like Remnant has a little bit of a hint of that. So this is definitely a style of game that I think he's really good at playing. He's been doing it for the last little while, so I think Remnant is something I got for free from the Epic Store. And it's just one of these things when you get a game for free, you don't necessarily put the same value on it. You don't necessarily. It's always going to be that thing that you eventually get into. But to be honest, like Ponce has really been selling me on this thing. It looks pretty interesting. He's playing on the hardest difficulty, so expect lots of frustration. But we'll leave it with Ponce. He's a fine fellow, and he's also a partner streamer, so he actually knows how to do an entertaining broadcast. But Olaf, thank you. Lord Sloth, Isaac Noobton, Starbright Knight, everybody who is lurking. The Exception, thank you very much for your resubscription. I think we also had Zodicide in here at some point. But anyways, thank you everybody for watching. I will see some of you tomorrow for the vodcast. Some of you prefer live broadcasts on Wednesday. For the rest of you, till next week, and please enjoy Ponce's broadcast.